Hey, hey, hey. Good evening. Back again with another show. I know I'm spoiling you guys. One show after another. But hey ho. I wasn't going to do one tonight actually. I wasn't feeling 100%. But do you know what? I actually thought I just need to do one. I need to get one off my chest. I need to speak to you guys and bring a few more people in to have a chat. I thought yesterday's discussion was quite good actually. I enjoyed it actually. And I've had a couple of people say it was different. I enjoyed it. I definitely did enjoy it. That's all I can say. Right, let's say a few hellos to some people that are in. We have Bill G, first in. Normally he's late, but today he was first in. Welcome, Bill G. AJ&M and Amanda Young. You two are always here. Sun Mao, nice to see you in. Terra Gaming. Okay, interesting terms. Paul Keelan, nice to see you in. Who else do we have? We have Rachy 0000. Nice to see you in. My Realm, Colin Dresser, your dad, and probably a few more. Now then, it's quite busy this evening. It's quite a busy platform to try and find some space on. I do believe that Clear is streaming right now, so if you feel like you want to pop on over and have a chat with Cleary or see him and how he does his show, he is live right now. So if you want to go on over there, I don't mind. If you want to go and listen to his debate platform, he is live right now. I think Nathan's probably just started his show, probably, yeah. So it's quite a busy time. Now, something interesting today. Now, you might not be aware. I wasn't aware till recently. And I don't know whether this is just a glitch with YouTube or not. However, I thought I would... Well, somebody asked, what's happened to Dell? And I was like, what do you mean, Dell? What's happened to Dell? They said, what's happened to him? I said, don't know. It says his channel's gone. I said, his channel's gone? What do you mean his channel's gone? His channel's gone. So I had a look. This was about an hour and a half ago, and sure enough, you cannot find his channel. So I'll show you guys again. So we'll search for Beyond the Imaginary Curve. It's not there. If we filter and we go to channel, we have a sock of Beyond the Imaginary Curve, but his channel is nowhere to be seen. So I have no idea what's going on there. I hope he hasn't had his channel shut down. I hope that's not the case, but in this day and age, who knows? Let's just hope that he's put his channel on some kind of hiatus for the time being, just to have a little break. That's a possibility. But as for now, there's absolutely just no way to find him. So, fingers crossed everything's all right in that regard. But shame if he's gone, and if he's listening, or if he's around and he has lost his channel. Hopefully we can get something sorted and get him back up and running as soon as possible. It's a bit like what happened with Martin Leakdy with his channel too. So he was able to get his channel back up and running soon, rather quickly. So weird stuff. That's what I've got to say. Yossi, nice to see you. I'm in the Discord right now. In the Discord chat section. If you want to jump in and have a chat with me. Now then, let's see. You've obviously seen what I've been doing with this fish tank and the test that I've been doing inside of the tank. Well, tomorrow I'm going to clean the tank out completely. I'm going to start afresh. I'm going to start from scratch again, and I'm going to set it all up for that particular test to see whether or not we get any sinking of an object behind another object. So the plan will be to do a live stream of that. Now how I'm going to do that is I'm going to have two cameras recording, and I will live stream on a third camera. And what I will do is, the only thing that I'll have to have pre-prepared is the sugar solution water. So I'm going to probably get around about 20 kilograms of sugar already diluted in the water, ready to just put in. So it will be a tank full of just fresh water. There will be plenty of objects in there with tape measures and all kinds of levels, and there'll be lasers and all this kind of stuff. And we're going to do it as best we can. And the plan is to just pour all the water in one go, and then leave it for 15 minutes to settle down, 20 minutes, half an hour, go back, see what's happened in the tank. I suspect, as you probably do, that it will be just the same. I don't see any difference at all. Jose says, Dell's last participation online was on JG's Daily Boom a few days ago. Well, I did see that actually. I did see him come in and kind of roasted you guys pretty good. That's all I've got to say about that. But anyway, what was I going to say? Stingray was asking for the images. So Stingray wanted the images for comparison reasons. So as they're quite large files, each file's, let me show you the size of these things. And there's only so many you can send per email. Just let me, I've got a desktop up here. So day 2 sugar, let's say. Let's go over here. Just pick any one of these, doesn't really matter. That one, this one. Properties. So we go to the properties, it'll tell you the size of it. So it's 6.5 megabytes. So it's a ginormous file for a JPEG. And as I say, it's 4,608 pixels by 3,456 pixels. It's massive. So I decided to send him 4 of these, which were basically 4 of the same focal length, so that he could compare. Now he wants the rest for some reason. I have no idea why he wants the rest. It's like he's got the 4 that make the most sense, the 4 with the same focal length, and etc, etc, etc. So I just don't understand why he wants the rest, and how long it's going to take me to send all these files over, and videos and all kinds of stuff. I mean, if he wants to jump on and discuss these things, that's fine, and I'll send him individual files as he wants to come along, but I'm not going to spend a half a day sending him individual emails with just a few images. He's got 4. Clearly he's had enough time to study all 4, where he can see the effects of the additional solution and what happens to that. Now that should be surely enough. I don't understand why he wants to see the fuzzy images. Makes no sense to me. But maybe that's to do with something to do with what Gem Panda said to me earlier today when I asked him. I said, "Hey Gem, why did you leg it? I did what you asked and terrible. Have you looked at them since? Thoughts? Question mark." He says, "Because I think you were bullshitting." This is from Gem Panda. The idea that I'm bullshitting for some reason. I'm sure you've seen the clip where I show you the images. I show him the images, etc. So anyway, he thinks I was bullshitting. Not going to waste my time on your trickery. If you want to pitch someone refusing to even engage with you because you are too dishonest to deal with as a win, go ahead. So apparently I'm too dishonest, I have trickery, and I'm bullshitting because he cannot cope with the idea that the fish tank was able to make that object sink in the background. So he thinks something has happened, and he obviously thinks that I'm responsible for this in some way, that it's my I don't know, however I've done the setup, or whether according to him, I'm bullshitting, trickery. So he's going as far as almost to say that I've lied. I mean, he called me dishonest in this. So I mean, come on. Really? It's a thing that anybody can do with a fish tank and sugar solution. So if I was going to bullshit about something, why would I do something that everybody's going to do? It's so easy to replicate. Makes no sense. I just reported the observations and what actually happened with additional sugar solution in the tank. But clearly, Gem Panda seems to think that there's something wrong with that, because he cannot grasp the fact that that was able to make the object in the background sink in comparison to the object in the foreground. What does that tell me? That tells me that he's banging his head against the wall and he's in denial over this. He's terrified of the implications of what this actually could prove. So he would rather deny it and say that there's trickery going on, I'm bullshitting, and I'm being dishonest. Well. So this is the response that we would get, the denial, because it's crushing them. It is absolutely crushing them. This is devastating for their arguments that we could have a genuine counter for their things. Wow, the show channel has blown up. Let's see, look at this. Wow, how many people do we have in already? Crow, F. Evangelist, Hansels, Jeremy, Puppet Master, Toy Brandon. Wow, lots of people. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Hey. Yeah, I'm just saying that my test has clearly confounded Gem Panda to the point that he is absolutely just in denial in regards to the images and what they show.
Have you spoken to him since yesterday?
I have, yeah. I mean, I put it up on. I just read out I sent him a message this afternoon. Hey Jem, why did you leg it? I asked, and May, terrible. Have you looked at them since and thoughts? He's put, because I think you were bullshitting. Not going to waste my time on your trickery. If you want to pitch someone refusing to even engage with you because you are too dishonest to deal with as a win, go ahead. So I'm dishonest, trickery, and bullshitting. Man, I just presented the images. Where?
That doesn't sound like normal Jem. There must be something else going on because he's not normally irrational. No, he's not normally irrational like that. So something must have triggered him that's outside of your observation.
Yeah, because, like his worldview is threatened. That's why.
I think that's it. I think his worldview is threatened. And
that's interesting because I don't know if you caught it. There's some comments on your channel from our friend Bob, the science guy, that are much along the same lines. He's accusing you of having faked it.
He's accusing me of what? Sorry.
He's accusing you of having messed with the focus and stuff and moved the camera. You didn't read that?
No.
Oh,
Ranty CGI. This is who it is. It's Ranty.
So did Stingray. Stingray said the same thing.
Oh, dearie me. This is going to be so epic for these guys.
Rakia, go play poker somewhere else, man.
Go on.
Stingray said that you had moved. The liquid was moving. That's what created that effect. That's why you're not including other pictures.
So the liquid
wasn't motion blurring.
I've got videos of these as well, you know. I've got videos of the video, and I've got photographs. I've got not just a set of images. I've got like 100 different images and probably about 15 videos. And I've also got videos from my phone showing me the setup and showing the focus inside the camera. You know, I mean,
let them go make. If they want to prove, somebody in the Jose's was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go get a tank of water now." Okay, good. When you go see the exact same thing, you're gonna be like, "What's your excuse gonna be at that point?"
This is great.
I don't know why ballers are scared. I mean, I'm certainly not threatened. Maybe I don't understand the severity of not the severity,
the implications, mate.
The accomplishment that you've made, the consequences. But I just think that you've made a lens using a whole bunch of sugar. I'm not threatened about the shape of the Earth, but I don't understand why those guys would feel so scared. Maybe you've solved it. Maybe it's time for me to become a flat earther.
I don't understand the implications of this.
It's devastating.
Is it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, because if you can
I don't think it is. It's not devastating.
If you can prove that in higher density images, and not just laser light. I'm not talking about laser light because laser light is behaving differently in the solution, which is what we suspected all along. But the ambient light, so the tin in through the solution or anything behind that was being pulled down. That was being dragged down in the denser. You know, the more that you made the solution dense. The more that it was being dragged down. Well, we live in a very dense atmosphere. This is the most dense at sea level, you know, so we're in the densest part. And what happens if the default was always to give you this indication, you know, if the light was always bending down in the dense area and they mistook that for Earth curve and did a calculation, 7.6R, well, you replace that for 7.6D, so 7.6 density, because that's just the natural order of things, that in this dense atmosphere that we live in, light will naturally bend down, a bit like is being presented in the fish tank in the denser regions. Then it's an absolute concrete, we can show this for a flat plane, you have your 7.6R, we have 7.6D, and both of them perform the same. Both of them give this drop There's cumulative drop.
Yeah, but we got the blue marble. We got the blue marble, Ranty.
Go ahead, Travis.
Okay, so only if you want to, Ranty. Maybe while I try to be as concise as possible, you pull up Miles Davis's mountain. So, gentlemen that are asking this question, and it's a very good question. The alleged explanation for a mountain in the distance being lower than expected is due to Earth curve. Okay. Now, when I had Miles Davis on my show and I was interviewing him, and it was a very good interview, very cordial, we got along great, no problems with the interview at all. I asked him if he had multiple images to share. If he does, he has not given them to me yet, because my statement to him was, if you go back and repeat this observation, that mountain is not going to be in the same place. It is either going to be lower, it's going to be higher, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be smaller. So what Ranty has done is Ranty has demonstrated an alternative explanation for curvature, which is refraction through the medium. So if Miles Davis is taking an observation of a mountain and he's got all of his heights measured out, his height is at 210 feet or whatever, and the mountain, blah, blah, blah. But the mountain that he's looking at in the distance is lower than he thinks. My question to him would be, Miles, is it possible that the height of that mountain is due to refraction? If his answer, hold on, just real quick. Yeah, that's fine. If his answer is no, then I would say, how did you negate that claim? How did you prove that it wasn't due to density?
I hear what you're saying. The Globers say that they're also saying that light bends down, but that's the reason things are going higher. They count that for looming.
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, but they use a laser to prove that, but the laser doesn't change in the tank, and this is their problem.
Well, we can see it in the tank. The light that came back through the coffee can wasn't raised up in our vision. It was lowered down and obscured. So they can say that all day long. What we're seeing in the real world doesn't match up what they're claiming. That's the problem for them.
Right. So again, just real quick. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
That return beam is. I know that Ranty says it's coming off the wall, but I'm telling you, some percentage of it has to be coming off the back glass of that tank. I don't know anything about the experiment. I don't know about the looming and the shrinking and the sinking and anything else, but I am 100% certain a percentage of that laser light has to be coming off the back of that tank, because if you put a mirror there and it didn't at a slant and it didn't change that return beam, then that makes no sense at all. That is just absolutely bizarre. So a percentage of it has to be coming off the back of that tank, and what I suggest Randy should do is stick a piece of cardboard down in the water on the back of the tank on the glass, just a piece of brown cardboard, only needs to be there for a second or so, and see if that return beam stays the same or not. Because I can bet you,
hold on, I did it on 3
inside the tank.
Hold on, I did it on 3 separate things in the background. So we had it returning off the metal door, we had it reflecting off a cardboard box, just as you asked, and I had it reflecting off a mirror, and every time it returned back through the glass.
Ranty, it can't, man. I'm sure sunbeams can.
It did, mate. It took
laser
me by
can't
surprise.
reflect off a cardboard box.
There are no such thing as sunbeams.
It must come. It must be coming off. Some of it must be coming off the back. Some of it must be reflected off the back of the glass. And until you put a piece of cardboard down inside the water against that piece of glass to block it to see, then you'll never know. But some of it has to be. Hey, just before I go, Travis, I found an interesting quote of yours, which I've posted in Ranty's latest video. I'll try and. You said it this year. It says. I don't understand how a fish tank full of sugar syrup has anything to do with a dynamic and in motion atmosphere, unquote.
Okay. Yeah.
You remember saying that?
Yeah, sure. What's your point?
Well, you're standing up for this now. You're saying what a great experiment it is and how it's
Okay, so
going to solve a few of your problems.
Yeah,
but at
go
the
back
time,
and go back
Sorry,
and
go.
say what the quote is again.
Oh, I can't remember it exactly, but it's something like, I don't understand what a fish tank full of sugar syrup has to do with a dynamic and in motion atmosphere.
Sure. So the context that I can recall why I would say something like that is that, first of all, you're shooting a laser beam through, which is not what daylight is. Daylight is not a laser beam, so that's one thing.
No, I agree 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's one contextual nugget that, and don't cherry pick what I say, because it's all depending on context and what I hold to be true. So the second reason would be that if you are looking through when I was referring to it, because
Your robot in there, mate.
before Ranty did his stuff, the water is static. It is. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Is this any better now?
Yeah, that's
No?
better. Yeah. Yeah, that's better, Travis. Yeah. It was.
Is this any better? Much. So our atmosphere, the aether band, is not static. It is dynamic. It is always moving. So, although I do believe that you should see my comment on Ranty's video, and I said next time, stir it up and show us what happens.
You don't see through the sugar. That's what happened.
Anyway, look, I'm not sure why you don't have a lot of ballers here arguing with you, Ranty. Perhaps they are scared. I don't get the consequences or the greatness of your experiment. I'm really glad that you did it, and I think it's really cool. But it doesn't change my opinion. But yeah, keep going, man. It's cool. And if ballers are scared, and then I think that's great. I think everyone needs to be stirred up a bit. So well done, and I hope you guys have a really nice day.
Okay. See you later.
See you, mate.
Hello.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm sorry.
So-
my battery is about to finish.
for the okay, go ahead.
Hold on, you're roboting pretty bad there, Travis. Maybe you should rejoin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, so I watched the video last night, and the first thing which you should find what's causing it is that laser not coming the same direction before you put the solution. I mean, try to do it without putting water in the tank. I don't know. You have to figure out something. And then second, as far as I know, and I'm not so good at refraction, there should be a slant angle through the layers in order to detect refraction. You know, Snell's law and that other stuff. The third thing, on the two images that you showed at the end of the video, I can see the right image having sinking of the tin can, and at the same image there's a pot that is looming up on the paper. It's higher than the other image. So the same image, comparing to the first one, it has compression and it has looming in different layers, and I don't know how did that happen. And I disagree with anyone that says this is a trick that you made. It's bizarre. So it's very funny experiment and results. Just check the image, and you'll see.
Well, what's interesting, I was able to get some water from the bottom of the tank. I spoke about this yesterday, I think. I was able to get some water from the bottom of the tank and some water from the top. And I messed about putting an egg in to a glass, and what happened was, on both, the egg floated to the top. And then, so obviously it was very buoyant. So then I watered it down. So I put there was 300 mils of sugar solution from the tank, and then I added 100 mils of water with no sugar in, just water into each, and the egg sank to the bottom on both. So that told me that there probably wasn't any kind of structure to the tank. It wasn't like it was in layers. There was no gradients in there. It was all just one density. The whole tank was just one density. And it's surprising that you said you would need density layers or gradients to create this refraction, when what's kind of been proved here is that it's just the tank was just the same density all the way through, and we were able to get this result that just resulted in the images being sunken through the gradient without having layers. It was just the density of the tank that did this, just density alone, without layers.
But there was looming at the same time.
That was probably because I think the very first image that I've got on the left now that I'm presenting to the YouTube audience, that was when the tank was probably still settling down. I would think. I think it was stopped, but it wasn't quite stopped. Whereas this image on the right was. Hang on, wait a minute. Let me think about this. No, that's not correct. The image on the left was taken, so the one that has this, if I don't know if you can see it on YouTube or whatever, but the image on the left was taken the following morning after day one's presentation, or day one's research. So that had settled all night long. So all night long this had been settling, and this was the result, the image on the left. And then the image on the right, that was taken at the end of the day, end of the second day, and this was around about 2 hours after it had settled down. So there was two sets there, two sets of images. But it's clear that there's sinking. With the more sugar solution you put in, the more that tin is dropped. And as I say, I checked the bottom of the tank versus the top of the tank for any kind of density difference, and there wasn't. So that's, like I say, that said that the whole tank was the same density. There was no gradients.
I would agree with that. If you stir the solution in the water, then I believe it would be, the same density, all heavy.
Yeah, the whole tank was the same density. That's correct. And the more you added, the more the can dropped in the back. So with greater density came more sinking. That was it. There was no need to have gradients. There was no need to have light bending up and then bending down, or bending down and then bending up. There was no need for that. It was just the density of the tank that lowered the image. Now, when I shined the laser through, the laser returned horizontal. So the laser wasn't affected. The laser behaved differently to the actual tin that we're looking at. The laser came back, right, in a straight line. So it wasn't bent down like you'd expect, like this tin was. So that behaved differently to the ambient light of the tin. So we know that one of them is natural light and one of them is man-made light. So they don't behave the same.
Can you position the camera in the same position, or that would be difficult to do?
The camera was in the same position for all the images.
Okay, so can you try that without water in the tank, without anything?
Yes, well, that's what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm restarting the experiment. So I'm going to clean the tank out. I'm going to get 20 kilograms of sugar, and I'm going to boil all that ready to go in one foul swoop. So there's not going to be any of this putting it in bit by bit and showing it incrementally dropping. Basically, I'm going to show the tank with no water in and take the image through that and some video footage. Then I'm going to put some water in, take some video footage and images of that. Then I'm going to pour the water in, 20 kilograms of sugar with water in it, let it all settle, and then see what happens with that. And it will drop it. I am confident that it will drop. In fact, I'm certain it will drop whatever image is in there.
I think the important thing to remember, Auntie, is that whatever you do, no matter how you do it, video it, photograph it, do whatever you like. Just remember, it will be wrong.
Oh, right, yes. Whatever, yeah, that's true. It doesn't matter, you're right, exactly. Whatever I do, the Globers will tell me that I've done
It will be wrong.
Yes, that's true. Sorry, could you say that again? I didn't hear a word of that.
There's a guy typing communism works and something about like strong words that YouTube algorithm can catch and you can get flagged. So keep an eye on your chat.
All right, okay. Goodbye. Bye, Terry Gaming. Bye-bye.
He just really likes communism, poor guy. Wants to let everybody know. Bye, Terror Gaming.
No need to put those words to try and maybe that's what they figured out. If they put these kind of words in the chat, that maybe that'll get a flag on your channel. You know, maybe that's what's happened to Dell.
No, maybe. Who knows? Well, I had heard a rumor earlier, and I don't know how it's true, or how true it is, that Dell told somebody, it's like second or third hand, that he may or may not be back.
Really? So he's quit himself?
That's the impression I got from what I heard, but there's not very much information out there. I've looked pretty good. At least I haven't seen any.
All right, okay.
If I could just jump in real quick, since Hans Els is still here, if that's how you say your name, but just to put a fine point on it, and for the cheap seats, Ranty is showing an alternative explanation for the low observation of mountains or objects in the distance. He's showing an alternative to Earth curve, right? So the claim then would be this.
There's no alternative, Travis.
You broke up and roboted for me, so I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
No, you did as well, to be fair. You roboted for us. So if you want to finish that, do what you were saying. The alternative, what?
Okay, so Ranty has provided an alternative explanation for observations that show objects in the distance lower than expected. It's an alternative to the Earth being curved. That's very significant.
Thank you very much. Right, listen, Windrider's supported the show with a massive super chat of $20 who says, this is for the Everyone Messes with Ranty Fund. LOL. Thank you, Windrider. That's an awesome super chat. Thank you. Very, very much appreciated there. It will help towards the sugar, believe you me. Because I need to buy a bunch of it. So, yeah, thanks for the sugar donation there, Windrider. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably a lot of truth. I've always said this, that there's the Globers are so vehemently into this idea of some kind of calculation that can measure the hidden value of things in the distance that they have been told is Earth curve. Well, what happens if the natural order of things, the natural just density of the atmosphere, is a natural sinking phenomena on a plane? It's just the default to that works out conveniently if you had a globe of 7.6R. But what happens if you just replace that with the R value and place it with D for density, 7.6D? It's the same calculation, but it's just that we're applying the visual effects of the density at sea level, or in the lower 10,000 feet, let's say, where everybody lives. Nobody really lives above 10,000 feet. So in that density region, there's pretty much a calculation. Sure, it can fluctuate on day to day, which is sometimes you see further, sometimes you don't see quite as far. But that could all be a whole host of different reasons that's affecting the density of the air on that particular day. Some days it's warmer, some days it's colder, some days you've got a storm rolling in, sometimes you've got higher pressure. So all this is affecting the density of the atmosphere, right? So what happens if it's just a density calculator that's been turned into a Earth curve calculator? They've done the opposite, and we're just re-engineering it back and say, look, this is what we can visualize in a fish tank that's that has a denser medium, and the whole image is brought down. Well, what happens in this dense region? Do you realize what the pressure is on your skin right now? Is it about £15 per square inch or something like that of pressure? Well, How many elephants is that are sitting on your entire body right now? If you add that up, 4 elephants, 5 elephants in weight that are supposedly pressing against you through pressure. Do you feel that? No, nobody feels that. But we're told that that's the case. So what happens if, like I say, this dense area, this dense medium that we live in, because we don't feel it, we're just conditioned to think that with our bionic eyes, if they didn't have any dirty air in the air, let's say any smog or anything like that in the air, we could just see for miles. And in fact, if we had a good enough telescope, we could see our own arse. We're just told that. This is how the atmosphere would work. They try to presume that you're living in a vacuum, but we're not living in a vacuum. So what's the effect of light in a pressurized, dense region like we live in? Well, what happens if it just behaves the same as in the tank? You don't need Earth curve for that.
What do you think, like, don't you think if, picture we were underwater in a space as big as we walk around in, we would have a different calculation, right? There would be an entirely different Earth curve calculator if we were in a water medium, right?
Yeah.
So fish have their probably 2.46 over 7R, right? Because everything's you can't see as far because the medium's thicker. So yeah, that's a good point. You can call it what it is. It's the vision calculator, you know?
I think
So they can't demonstrate light bending down, but we see us seeing it higher, like they claim.
that's true from beyond. So yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can get a paint can like I've done in that tank, and you can see it in you can see a superior mirage of that where it's lifted up on top of the other one. So that can be replicated. But does that mean that if you put a brick between you and that can, that if you then had the same atmospheric conditions in that tank, that the can would be lifted up from behind the brick? No. It just means that all you would see is another brick repeated as a superior mirage on top of the brick that you can see. Because all the light does is just reflect what you can see. It never brings anything back from behind something else. There's never something lifted up from beyond something else into your view. Ever. Never, ever, ever. I mean, they've used that liquid nitrogen to lift up that tiny bit of plasticine that looks nothing like the original plasticine that they tried to lift up. It was a smudge. And let me tell you, when that liquid nitrogen hit the tank, the container, right, that curved container, or that pipe, or whatever it is that they dropped it on, it was the cold air underneath the warm air. The cold air was when it hit the actual cylinder, and above that was warm air. And that's what gave you the gradient to lift up the actual thing. Well, it's not colder at sea level. It's warmer at sea level and colder up above, not the other way around.
The higher you get up, the colder it is. Yeah. So they created this.
So they created it with the wrong formula because they had the cold underneath the warm. Yeah.
Okay, this is where I jump in. If I may. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, there is then what is suggested an inverted thermal gradient.
That's what they used to produce that. Yeah, that's what they used to produce that. They had to use that. So, they had to have the cold under the warm.
Okay, but see, so what happened, in my opinion, and I've said this on my show the past few live streams, is that I believe that is a direct result of seeing an inverted image and wondering how that's possible. So they invert the medium because they have to have a reason for the inversion.
If that guy over that propane tank had the cold air at the bottom, or I'm sorry, the warmer air at the bottom and the cold air on top, like we have on Earth, there's no way we would have been able to see that little bit of plastic or whatever.
Exactly. They had to do it the other way around. They had to put the cold at the bottom with the warm above it, which lifted it up. Well, nowhere do we have that on where we live. We never have that. It's always warmer down at sea level and colder the higher up you go. So what they produced was not what it says on the tin. Yes, they were able to show something behind something else, but they had to do something that you never see in nature. You never see
didn't
that.
replicate. Yeah, they didn't replicate any Earth-like conditions. If those are Earth-like conditions, it's probably extremely rare, because the norm would be it gets colder as you go up. That's the norm.
Yep. So I mean, their lack of being able to produce this thing that we're asking for, this looming behind something else, this raising up of something, this mirage, they cannot produce that. They cannot reproduce it, and they cannot do it, and it's never been seen. You've never seen a house behind a hill lifted up so that you can see it. You've never ever seen that. It's never going to happen, and they cannot do it.
This is just sorry.
No, well, I'm just saying. But we can make images sync. We can make images sync. I've been able to replicate it in the fish tank. So if I can replicate it in the fish tank, when you're looking across water at a distant mountain range, let's say 60 miles away, and it's lowered down in your vision and you're missing some of it, well, who's to say that isn't exactly what's happening with the fish tank? Exactly the same, just in the dense atmosphere.
So the reason things are appearing to be hid behind the horizon could be just on because of this misunderstanding they have of refraction and not magnification.
I think there is some magnification that goes on, but I wouldn't, for the moment, I don't want to confuse it with what's going on with this. But I absolutely believe when you see the moon, for instance, at night time, and you see that moon from down here, well, we've seen hot air balloon, altitude footage, 120,000 feet, where that moon is tiny. It's a pinprick. Now, I was looking at the moon tonight, and it's big. so it's like there's no way in a million years that you can tell me that we're not seeing a magnified moon. We absolutely have to be seeing a magnified moon from down here.
Yeah, I didn't want to go off your thing, but it'd be nice to have a reason to tell them, well, why is half the boat missing, or why is half the city skyline missing? No matter what it is, I just want a reason to be able to produce. Because I showed him. Chris showed me that video yesterday of atmospheric magnification. They weren't buying it. So.
All right. Well.
Where you say, Randy, where they've produced, an experiment or a demonstration with the cold air at the bottom and the hot air at the top, and that gives a different result. It's the same in everything that they do. Like, it's gas pressure next to a vacuum. Oh, it's because of gravity, but they can't demonstrate it. They can come up with an idea or a theory. Everything in their model, if you want to call it that, is like a galactic Ponzi scheme. That something Pete Shea said yesterday as a throwaway line was, they can't give up an inch, because if they do, they'll have to give up 1,000,000 miles. And that's exactly right. No matter what you come up with, what idea, what observation, what demonstration, they cannot take a single backward step, because the whole thing will collapse in on itself if you disprove even one element of it. So if you've got anybody with even an ounce of critical thought, the gas pressure and the vacuum situation, that person would think, yeah, that doesn't make sense. But they don't. They'll argue vehemently until their eyes bleed that you're wrong, because they have to.
Yeah, that's true. But listen, this isn't what I'm showing here is not disproving their 7.6R. That is definitely not doing that. But what it is definitely doing is offering an alternative that Flat Earth has not had till this point. We haven't been able to definitely come back with them and say, look, you can calculate this. If this can be calculated and measured and predicted, this density 7.6D, if this can be measured and somebody can do a formula and a calculation for it that's able to go head to head with their globe Earth model for drop, right? Then we're 50-50 then. It's a case of we can demonstrate this. You have that belief, but we can demonstrate this. Then they can say, we can say, well, we can demonstrate sinking. You cannot sink. You cannot demonstrate looming, right? So at that point, when we've both got a calculation that works, or appears to work, and then we say, well, we can demonstrate sinking, where's your proof of looming? Well, we can prove sinking all day long. They can't prove looming.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like a death by 1,000 cuts. You've got to start somewhere, and you've got to try and, you know, they've got this 200 or 300 years of indoctrination that they've been doing about this globe model, you know, and all we're doing is unraveling it. That's it, bit by bit.
Hey, Randy, can I just share my screen for a minute? I got something to show you.
Yeah, that's right. Their model is
Sure.
Can you guys see that?
Let's have a look.
It's in the Discord.
Yes, we see it, yeah.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. This was posted as a reply in your video, one of your videos about the sugar stuff. And I thought it was interesting because what this person was saying actually is, oh, this is just magnification. I'm sure you guys have seen this before where someone will take different camera lenses and different focal lengths and come up to a globe, and that's their reason why the continents look different and the Earth looks different in different NASA photos. But if watch out as I go through this and watch these arms right here on the side. This is another thing that might be happening in the atmosphere. Watch the arms as this object in the foreground becomes magnified and bigger. They're essentially being hidden by the globe. So you're not seeing a good portion of them. If you go back to the beginning one, you can see the whole thing and you can see the gap in between them. By the time they change this focal length, you're missing almost all of those arms. So I don't know how this, you know, plays in with the sugar thing, but I thought it was interesting that someone used this as a rebuttal. And it's actually another example where something could potentially be hidden from the bottom up by something in the foreground.
Well, I don't think that's I don't think that's quite as presented, because if you look at the distance, it says 41 millimeters, so that's only 4 centimeters. They're only 4 centimeters away from this globe. What they've done is they've got that close to it. It's nothing, you know, as they've zoomed in, they've extended the length of the camera nearer to the actual globe, and yeah, because there you go, it's 306 millimeters there, and the last one.
Yeah, that big one. Let me get back to that. That's a good point.
The last one is 41 millimeters. You know, so the camera lens is much closer to the actual ball on that. You know, so you will lose the size on it, just like that.
Oh yeah, I didn't catch that. Good catch, Randy.
Randy, you can be a glober.
I can do
Live
that.
debunking, huh?
So,
it's all right. It's a good. I didn't notice that.
So I don't think they can use magnification.
I didn't hear that. What was that comment? Sorry.
I just apologised for the live debunking of that. I didn't mean to. Kangu24 says, we can demonstrate thousands of images of the Earth from space. He says for $5, he's given a super chat there. So what do you say to that? Thousands of images from space.
Yeah, but do any of those have looming? Are any of those like proof of looming?
Proof of looming. Yeah. Can you present us a single proof of looming, Kangu? And don't just say, look at your images. Because that's just ridiculous. You've already presupposed a globe there. We want to see a demonstration of something being loomed up behind something else.
Comparable to reality, not with the colder layer at the bottom.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, with warm air at the bottom, cold air above. Kangu24 says, again, did I miss the show when you guys proved images from space are fake? I think you did. You must have done, because, you know, I mean, if you believe that tweaker hut went to the moon, I mean, have you seen, you guys have seen that image from the moon, that tweaker hut, yeah?
That was precision engineering. What are you talking about?
They went to the moon, right? They went to the moon, the very first, I mean, come on. And they couldn't even build it properly. They couldn't make it look fancy.
I've seen one of the ones where they actually showed it aging over time throughout the missions. I forget if it might have been Glowbusters or something. I can't remember.
Was it rusting?
It was just all dinged up at like your car after like 10 years on the road. From the beginning in the beginning, it was all nice. Everything was nice and straight, no dings or nicks. And then by the end, it looked all beat up. I forget, it might have been Jaronism. I forgot who showed it.
That traffic and space. It's hard parallel parking when there's like no ground or curb. You just keep fucking hitting into things all the time.
Parking. Do you know there's something that's called parking orbit?
Yeah, it's like dock. They use what special word? They use docking, right? Yeah, unbelievable.
So has anyone got any theories? I've titled the show today. It's basically a show that you guys, if you want to spitball and throw things out there, this is the time to do it. Get it off your chest. Tell us about this magnification, or tell us about light rays, or whatever you want. The show's for that tonight. So fire away.
I've got a theory for you.
Okay, who said that?
Have you seen this theory?
What's that theory?
Can you see it on the screen?
Hold on. Hang on. Common sense science. Note a wannabe skeptics. Right. Right. Go on and tell me. Oh,
sure.
Right,
Note
okay.
to wannabe skeptics. This test interested me as to how Randy did it. So I took my camera, put it on a table level with a lighter, and focused on a distant spray bottle, higher than the lighter. All I had to do is change the zoom, and I reproduced Randy's findings. Then I looked at the video again. Notice the different widths of the paint can and the selective cropping of the flower pot to make it look the same between the photos. Randy just played with the zoom, the distances to the objects, and the focus to get the effect he wanted. Easy to spot. Thanks again, Randy. It took me about 5 minutes to figure out what you did. That is what it means to be a skeptic, folks. The rest of you gullible flirts just took it at face value.
Oh, that's the comment that I pinned. That's the comment that I pinned because I'm glad you did that actually because
you did pin it,
because I wanted to address that right now. Actually, I might do that right now, and then we'll get into some of the things from your guys. But here we go. Kangoo says black swan images are the proof of looming. Apparently, by Kangoo24. Well, I've given Spurs Kilo.
How would you know it's not sinking, right? Like, how would you know that on the other day it was just higher and it came down?
Well, hold on. Who's coming in hot there? Was that you, Brian?
I think Travis.
Hold on. Who's that? Travis, you were roboting then, mate?
No, that's not me. I'm on mute.
Bastard.
That was Brian.
Right, okay, listen, I want to present a couple of images actually. Well, I'll present a whole bunch of them actually. So, let's get at least one of these up so that I can start sharing for you guys to see. So, day 2 sugar test. So, let's get the very first image up from day 2. Where are we? Open with photos. Right, there we go. Right, so where are you guys? Where are we? Yeah. Share your screen. There we go. Sorry guys about this, it's just taking a bit of time. So if you want to watch in the Discord, tell me when you can see the image that I'm presenting. Hello?
Yep, got it.
Okay, so I woke up on the morning. So actually, let's do this. Let's put the file information up so that you guys know. So on the left-hand side, we've got all the data. So the time that it was taken, whether it was a video or whether it was an image. We've got the apertures, the 30.5 millimeters, etc., etc. One thing that's interesting though is that the video footage seems to have a 30-minute difference compared to the photos. I don't know how that's worked, but I might show that doing live or something. But anyway, so here's the images, here's all the file information. So this one is DSCN 8547. So let's go through these images. So I cleaned the tank after realizing that you couldn't see through it. Let's go back through those images. So here we go. So you see all these spots on it? couldn't use that, so I needed to clean the tank, get rid of all the sugar off of it. So cleaned the tank out. That was a video. This is the image that was settled down after a couple of hours after I'd cleaned the tank and just left it, right, or an hour or so, something like that. So now it's 11:38. This is 30.5 millimeters, f4, 1/6 of a second shot or whatever. So this is the image that was produced. Now he says that I've manipulated and cropped these, right? So these are straight out of the file, DSCN 8552 JPEG. You can see the dimensions of it. You see it all on the left-hand side. Now then, this is for anybody that's saying that any of these are cropped or anything like that. 11:38, another one, 35.9 millimeters. Right, so let's just go through all these. 38.6 millimeters, 49.5 millimeters. Doesn't matter. The zooming in on it isn't changing where that can is in relation to the top of the pot. Right. So if you look here, you can read the R, and the R ends at the top of the tin. Oh, sorry, the top of the pot. Let me go back a couple of images, so it's further away, and it's exactly the same. The R ends at the top of the pot. Now then, we can go through all these images. There's nothing doctored with these. They're all from the same videos and images. This is zoomed right out, I think, or almost right out, where you can see the whole setup of the tank. You can see the pot in the middle. Can you guys see this? Can you see this? There's the pot in the tank. Yep. There's the primer behind it. There's the tape measure that I've got by the side. There's all the tapes that was on the box at the back. You know, so you can see all this. There's nothing hidden.
You know what's so funny is that this is what they say when we, when we're like, oh, NASA videos, and they're like, oh no. They're just doing the exact thing. It's a genetic fallacy. They're attacking you and your standards, not the actual evidence you presented. Ironic.
So this is at 12:17. You can see that the E, the top of the E, so we're seeing prime, and then we've got this. I don't know. It's at the top of the pot. Anyway, that's basically where it is. And then obviously the more time that we use, I adjusted the camera ever so slightly, just from to the side, and what you see as you zoom in, it does expose the E. Actually, I never saw that before. Actually, when you zoom back out. When I'm at 33.2, that's interesting. 33.2 millimeters, you don't see the E of the prime, Can you see? You don't see the E on that. So I didn't adjust anything. I thought I had it. And then when I zoom in, it reveals the E. Look at that. How cool is that? Anyway, so back out. As I zoom back out, it removes the side-on images. But anyway, so there's the tin. Nothing's changed. All the data's on the left-hand side. Everyone can see this. Nothing's been fudged. Nothing's been faked. It's exactly as it rolled off the camera. Same position every single time, with all the f-stop values on the left, with the zoom levels, everything.
Hey, Ranti.
Yes.
Good evening.
Yes. Hey, Josie.
Now that's what a live debunk looks like, Ranty.
Yep.
That's what a true skeptic does, folks.
Yep. I have a suggestion.
14:38. This is middle afternoon. This is me zoomed right back out again. Zooming in. You can see all these images. Nothing's been changed. But you're definitely seeing that the tin is lowered. Some of it's out of focus. Other times it's not.
There it looks really crunched up, like it's smushed. Words.
This is at 15:51. The tank's had time to settle. Now you can see everything properly. The tank's had time to settle down. 30.5 millimeters. Next one, 42.2. Next one, 49.5. Zooming in, zooming out. 33.2 millimeters. All here, but there's no trickery going on. The camera's in exactly the same spot.
Ranti, do you know we transfer?
Sorry?
Do you know we transfer?
We transfer, yes I do, yes.
So I think it would be benefit for you and for the other part that all the images you just zip it and you put on the we transfer, and make available to skeptics?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Some people are asking for them, I've seen.
Right, okay. Well, they're all there. So that was just from day 2. So this is day 2's images from straight out of the folder with all the file information on the left-hand side. Nothing changed. You know, you can see the times that I zoomed out right at the back. You can see where the camera was. There we go. Where's that image? There we go. So this was the position of the camera when I'm zoomed right out. You know, there's no zoom in on this particular one, but you know, you can see where I've got the camera set up basically through this. You know, this is where 1551, 1555, 1555, boom. Got hundreds of these images, videos. Let's see what else I've got. Let's go through the next one, seeing as we're here. So, because you know, one thing that there's no point in me forging anything. What does that prove? How does that advance anything? You know, when it's so easy. If I had done something wrong, it would be so easy for somebody to actually debunk. You know what I mean? And say that I'd forged it. Why would I risk doing that? Do you know what I mean?
You know,
Yeah.
I think we don't even understand how big this is. It could be like the second Black Swan, you know, so they are in panic mode now, and they will say anything they need to say, you know, so if you made yourself transparent, so they have nothing.
Yep.
And can just say goodbye to the ball another time.
This is day 3.
You know,
start of day 3. I'll just go through these. You guys carry on talking.
Speaking of the second Black Swan, one of the most useful things about the Black Swan is it was packaged for easy consumption. It was easy to use that picture to communicate. And I'm wondering if there's a way to package this that people would understand. I like the way that you put the 4 photographs and the 2 photographs together, but maybe if you did a side-by-side with some of the images where they say there's Earth curve, you know, and said, you know, pointed out the similarities between seeing that can shrink, sink in the background and seeing something in the foreground shrink, maybe even the Black Swan photographs, because they've got one where you can't see half the platform and you can see half the platform. So you could have 4 pictures, one where you can see the top of the can, one where you can't, one where you can see the platforms, one where you can't.
This is interesting. This was, I've not even seen these. Do you know something? I've not seen this video or the video before, right? And so this will actually be sort of novel. So what I've done is I've taken it off the bench. I've not seen this yet, whether this actually works or not. It should be quite a long video. It's only 125, so it must be the next video. But basically, I've got 2 flashlights at the back. One of them's an LED, one of them's a normal light. And I also use a lighter, right? And I lower it, so I come into the shot and I'm lowering the lighter and I'm raising it up. So I think I adjust the, I think I go on the next video and I adjust it. Is it the next video? Where I raise the camera so that I'm looking over that hump. Anyway, I'm going to play these videos because I've not even seen these yet. So this should be quite interesting. Tell me if you can see that I'm actually playing this, guys.
Yep.
Right, okay, so I don't need the sound on. So it is me getting the flashlight out. So I don't know what actually happens. I've not seen this. God's honest, I've not seen these videos yet. So I don't know what happens. So this is sort of new. What actually happens when I move the light through. Whoa! Look how bright that's gone!
Sounds glare.
That was glare, wasn't it? Yeah. I wonder what will happen with the
sun.
It is, isn't it? Mind you, that's pretty bright as well. Let's see what happens with the next.
Hey, Ranty.
Yeah.
Ranty.
Yeah.
Racer XYZ is doing the same thing Jose said that the other guy was doing. I think they're putting trigger words in chat.
Oh, right. Okay. Let me quickly sort that out right now. What's he called?
Racer XYZ. Racer XYZ.
Racer. Right. Okay. So I'll get rid of him. There we go. Right. So I'm trying to see if there's anything. It doesn't look like there's anything changing with the flashlight, to be honest. These levels. I wonder where the. Let me scroll through that and get to the lighter. It must be on the next video. Let's see if I can find the lighter. That's the laser. Oh, that's interesting. Let's see what the laser looks like. Look at that.
Hey, I'm just saying, maybe you want to give a mod out there, SEs out there, just so that you don't, you know, because not everybody's going to catch it, but if that's enough to get you in trouble, you might want to have a wrench or two out there.
Okay, so there's me messing around with the laser. You can see straight lines in the same density, so there's no density gradient in there because they'd be bending, be curving, but it's not straight lines. So this is saying that the whole tank is uniform, you know, with the same density throughout the tank.
Is the bottom of the tank glass or a mirror, Ranty?
It's glass. It's like a laser show, isn't it?
Yeah, play some Dark Side.
I've not seen these videos. Genuinely, I haven't seen them, so I have no idea what's on them. But I'm not. That shows how unconcerned I am about whatever's being shown in them, because I don't care, because there's nothing to hide. It is what it is. The camera will show what the camera shows, and you know, there's no point in hiding any information. Do you know what I mean? What's this? Is this
obviously.
video?
Yeah.
So this might be.
Yeah, I did want to ask you what.
Here we go. This is where I use the lighter. Hey, let's see what happens. I've not seen this yet. Dun, dun, dun. I imagine nothing's going to happen. I don't think it'll hide it because it's all a uniform gradient, isn't it?
Tough to you know, tell what's really going on because you don't have anything to compare it to either.
No. I think I go back again and I do it again. Yeah, I do.
Ranty, do you think you could try it? Would it be possible to try it with like some steam or, you know, some thick gas or something?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to try it with lots of different stuff. You know, I mean, this tank was probably the best thing I ever got. You know, because I'm gonna have so much fun with this. This is yeah, this is right up my street. Well, that's weird.
They're crying. They're crying because it's sugar water.
Oh, are they? Right. What a shame. Well, how else do they want us to replicate it? Should we go and build a density chamber somewhere that's going to cost a few £1 million to put together? Should we do that? Who's got a few
sugar water for some of their refraction stuff, their demonstrations? So I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they use the same thing. And without their demonstration of the laser bending down, they don't have the looming up. Okay, so if they want to start throwing stuff out now, if you made them throw out that, now we have direct line of sight. Okay, and if we see something that's where it shouldn't be, where's their thing to say, oh, well, it's loomed up? You threw out sugar water and laser, so you don't give me that now.
Hey, those like bubbles that formed on the side, were those air bubbles or was that like
that might be the sugar that's stuck to it, you know. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it's possible it's the sugar that's stuck to the pot.
You know, it'd be interesting, but a little too expensive if you could fill it with alcohol.
Yeah, I'd be drinking it, mate. Come on, you're not going to leave it in a tank.
No, like rubbing alcohol or something. Because one, the sugar, like it's not going to get off. It won't mold up. So you'll be able to keep consistency. And isn't like alcohol a little thinner than water? So you should get a little different effect. But again, that'd be like to fill that thing up with rubbing alcohol would be like a couple $100. But hey, it's an interesting idea.
Look, this was the last image I got with the last lot of sugar solution that I put in. I think I showed it to you guys, but I didn't really show it on the show yesterday. So as you can see, I mean, you can see how much that's almost at the top of the pot. So that was another 3 kilos, the last 3 kilos that I put in yesterday morning. So it's almost gone behind it. But as you can see how dirty the tank is? You know, it's it was really starting to mess up in there and get dirty. So I'm pretty sure that the solution went off, which is why when I replicate this tomorrow, I'm just going to use like 20 kilos and just throw it all in one go. Just get it all over and done with. Film it from start to finish, lots of different controls in there. Film it without any water in at all. Film it with just water in, then throw all the sugar solution in one batch. Let it all settle down and see what happens. You know, and I'll have 3 cameras filming it.
Some bleach will stop it from molds too. If you just put like
I was going to say just put a bit of Clorox or something in it, Randy. That'll stop the bacterial growth.
Yeah, sounds interesting, but you know, I want to start afresh anyway. I want to do it from scratch again, so there can be no arguments about any of this. If I've got 3 cameras filming everything at the same time, there can be no suggestion that I've changed the position of the camera or done anything untoward. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I think they will suggest that, Randy.
Can you also change the level of the laser, like lift it up a little bit, like on 2 steps, and see the effect?
Well, I did.
And without the solution.
Oh, right, with and without the solution, yes. Yeah, I'll do that.
Hey, is that like your garage or something? Does it have the same light source all the time, or is it there are windows in there that changes the light source?
Yes, there is. There's one window, and sometimes it was overcast outside, and sometimes it was bright. So, you know, just the way it was. But these are the 4 sets of images that I actually sent to Stingray. So I sent these to Stingray, these 4 images, with the same focal length, right? Camera in the same position. So the same focal length, camera in the same position. I just had to realign the very first image because it was ever so slightly off-centered, you know, just a smidgen to the right. So I cropped it out just so that it fitted perfectly. And the other 3 images are in exactly the same position, parallax-wise. But you can definitely see, can you see how the tin is definitely shrinking? But it's not losing its width. Yeah. It's not losing its width, but it's absolutely, I mean, you can't, the primer's way down there. And the top one, the primer's way up here. So Stingray got back to me after I emailed him these, and he says, "Where's the others? I want to see the others now." And I'm like, well, why do you need to see the others? I've got so many of them, and they're massive files. You know, can't you just work with the 4 that I've given you that are all the same length and show this lowering? But for some reason, he needs the other information, and I don't know why he would do that, unless he's trying to dig for something.
I can tell you why.
Why?
He has it in his mind that you cherry-picked an image that was the result of the water moving so that there was the result that you wanted. So he wants to be able to analyze every single picture.
That was ridiculous. Right, okay. Well, you know, if he wants to come on and talk to us about this right now, he could. If there's any images that he wants, as I scroll through them, he can say, and I'll give them to him. But I'm certainly not sending him fucking hundreds of images in an email. That's never going to send. It's going to take 20 emails to send it. I haven't got the time for that.
You know, the scrutiny is good, Ranty. I'm happy to see they're scrutinizing it so much and coming up with ridiculous conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Well, they've got to.
Or Ranty. Or they can replicate it, right? They can buy their tank and they can replicate it.
Yes, they could do that quite easily. I mean, that's why it's such a good experiment, is like anybody can do this with a fish tank. Anybody can just go ahead and try it themselves, which is why there's for me to forge it, I'd have to be so stupid, because anybody can do this test, right? And it's like, it's the death knell. If I forged anything, that would be the death knell of my research on flat Earth. Do you know what I mean? My name would be in the mud. There'd be no point in actually showing my face again. if I was fraudulent in anything, and I'm not, because anybody can replicate this, you know.
Hey Randy, I gotta go. My battery is very low.
Okay, Crow.
Or maybe I'm afraid to convert to be a flat earther.
Nah.
Okay, so see you all, guys.
See you later. Well, yeah, I mean, all this.
It's funny. It's funny, Ranty. That like when you've got a boat disappearing over the horizon, or a mountain, or a ship, or whatever, on any given day with any particular picture, nobody ever they never bring up what the atmospheric pressure or the humidity or the temperature or whatever. It's always 7/6R. That explains everything. But when you try and do a demonstration like this, well, suddenly we've got to put the fine-tooth comb through it, and I need to see every photo, and I need to know what the ambient light was, and I need to know what the brand of the laser you used was, and was it a 6-volt battery or a 4.5-volt battery. But with their explanations of things, it's just how it is, and you have to accept it.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, so at the end of the day, this is a calculation that for those people that are mathematically minded on the globe side, they can use the same. We're not taking away their 7/6. We're not taking away their 7/6 and seeing things drop and seeing things missing, because we all appreciate that when you see things in the distance, quite often you're looking at distant mountain ranges, you're not seeing the bottom of them. Anybody that denies that is talking out of the bottom, right? Because we do see that. So we're not stealing their 7/6 from them, or their calculation, or their mathematics. However, we are saying to them, why don't you replace the R value with a D value? You know, density value, and apply the same calculations for that 7/6R. Just apply it to density, a density atmosphere, and see what happens. You know, and funnily enough, do you know what? I have a feeling it might match if they actually applied the same mathematics. So, because they're all adamant that this calculation works. It's been proven over time. Well, what happens if they're just confused about what the actual calculation is? You know, they're saying it's a radius value. We're saying it's possible it could be a density value. Okay, look at it, research it, put some calculations into it, and see if that works. You know, because if it does, then you know it's quite easy for them to then just flip from being a globe earther to a flat earther, because they'd be like, okay, well that makes sense now. And that's what explains why on some days you see further and some days you don't, because the density gradient's just a little bit different on that particular day. How do you measure for a density gradient? Well, it's a lot of calculations, isn't it? But you know, it's a lot of calculations, but it's what we've got to start with, and I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that could work this out.
Yeah, so they just base their calculation on the wrong variable. They based it on another correlated variable, but not the cause of the actual effect.
Exactly.
So we just need to correct the names of the variables.
Yeah, just swap them around. Swap the R for a D, and that's it. Suddenly you're a flat earther. You know, you don't need to have an R.
Ether band.
Ether band, yeah. Oh, we had another.
And their variable is presumed.
Presumed R, yes, exactly.
Yeah, not even proven.
Kangoo24 sends another super chat saying, instead of a fish tank and sugar, drive around the UK, measure the angle to Polaris every 200 kilometres. These angular changes will show you're on a globe. I see. So instead of staying at home with a fish tank and sugar, you want me to drive around all of the UK to measure the angle of Polaris. So that I would have to do that at night time when the skies were clear, so that I can see Polaris. And I'd have to do it every 200 kilometres, so that would probably involve, let's see, say 10 different observations. So that's a month. You want me to drive around the UK for a month doing this for you, rather than stay at home with tanks and sugar? Are you going to pay for that, Kangoo? You're going to send me on holiday for a month?
Wouldn't you need to take every photo at exactly the same moment anyway?
Plus, perspective does that. Things come down when you're moving away from them.
I was talking to them in GEMS today, and they wanted me to do that, you know, measure angles, the things, the moon, whatever. And I said, you know, we're going to take perspective into account, and we don't have to, apparently. But I argued, you know, that we should take perspective into account, since it's everything we look at in life, you know, we're perspective there.
if you take perspective into account, their whole model goes down.
Yeah, but the perspective is a real life event. It's in
I know.
every photo, every time you look anything, it's there. So
You guys just don't understand.
That's why they
I
claim.
know we don't.
That's why they claim everything is impossible distances away, because that's the only way that their angles work, and they can ignore, local perspective effects. That's why the line of sight to the sun, if you're on opposite sides of the Earth, is exactly the same, the same angle on their model, because it's infinitely far away. If it were closer, those angles would never work.
Has anybody on their side done that? Sorry, Randy.
Well, I've been thinking about this this density thing. So obviously we think we're going to assume that it's denser the lower down we get. So Lake Erie in Australia, it says that's one of the 10 lowest points on Earth. Is that right? I mean, does anybody know what the pressure is down
Ranty, it's Lake Eyre, not Erie. Eyre.
Oh, Lake Eyre, right? Okay, so Lake Eyre in Australia.
Thank you.
I wonder what the density would be like in Lake Eyre, because if it was, pretty dense down there, you could do some measurements. You could go there and you could do the observations down there and see whether or not they match when you went higher up, to sea level. Get a human.
Yeah, I don't think you'd pick up much different. I've been within a couple of 100 kilometres of Lake Eyre, and it's particularly dry. I mean, it's in the middle of a desert basically. It's not a lake very often. So yeah, I don't think there'd be any appreciable difference compared with, say, sea level. So, and I'm not prepared to drive that far to find out.
Kangoo comes back with another super chat saying, Ranty, if you're interested to finding out the shape of the Earth, if not, keep messing around with fish tanks. Well, as somebody said, quite, you'd have to take those images at the same time on the same day. I don't have the ability to do that. Much as I'd like, I'm not the Flash.
And by the way, the globe toy is so destroyed that it's difficult to put it back together.
Didn't Antonio Superats do some kind of observation at nighttime or daytime? Was it the sun tracking or something that he did? What about Polaris tracking for flat Earth? I mean, we could, Kangoo might be right. Let's have a go. Let's see what they show. Let's see what it says. Let's see what we'll figure it out.
The problem is we can't get to the far north, the 60, 70, 80 latitudes. So that's where things would really diverge, I think.
I want to see 90 degrees. Yeah, we need to do it all. Go 90 degrees from Polaris and work your way down. But I've never seen 90 degrees.
Yeah, let's not forget also, what is Polaris? Where is Polaris? Are we just viewing an apparent position of a light in the sky, or what actually is it? I mean, it's all a bit semantic, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you knew, I use that all the time. You don't know what that is, what we're looking at, how the sky works, all.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I would like to see that being done, honestly. Like, you being right below the Polaris and then start moving. But I don't think nobody has done it or can do it.
I haven't seen it, and I've seen people ask for it. I've asked for it, and I haven't seen a video of it out there or anything that shows it from each latitude.
But like he said, though, even if you could get all that, what are we even looking at? How far away is it?
Oh, I understand that, yeah. But I'm saying because on their side they claim things that nobody has done, right? To be proofs or whatever.
If they back engineered their model based off of reality and what they saw, if they actually did that all the way up to the 90th, right underneath Polaris, we'll get the same angles. I guess that's the question. Do we truly get those angles all the way to the North Pole? And if we do, what does it mean?
Yeah, that's
They're
what
not
I
even
want to see.
measuring the
That
angle to
that
Polaris. You
I
put
want to
something
see
on the
that last
ground.
hour, right?
You know, if Polaris is supposedly a billion miles away, if you're off 0.01 degrees from direct center, do you know how skewed your numbers are going to be? So this is why, like, when you get these distances, trying to measure based on looking at the center of something is just ridiculous. Like, so you're going to just look at the center, say, yeah, we're about center, take the angle measurement. Well, what if you're a degree off, 93 million miles away? You know, that's going to be way off center.
Well, in their model, there's no parallax to Polaris. Correct? I don't think they claim any. So, you know, it's so far away, and they never claim a true distance to it. Just some estimate that is the biggest number you've ever heard in your life. And that's what they had to do to make it so that those angles work.
Like, I'm not even sure there's a billion miles of open space. Like, that would need to be established for me. Be like, yo, okay, you have to prove the longest distance I've ever seen in my life is like 8,000 miles from like USA. I went to Europe, right? Now you're going to tell me there's billions of miles to travel. I'm going to be like, okay, I call bullshit.
I mean, there might be, but none of us have ever been outside of the Earth. We have no fucking clue what's out there.
Yeah. So look, they learn the presuppositions that come at, you know, they're like, oh, well, you know, you're first presupposing that there is even an amount of space that can hold your model, right? Like they have to start there. They can't even establish a set boundary. Like I can be like, yo, I know my house starts and ends here. Where's yours? They're like, we have no idea.
And they base it all on spectroscopy, don't they? So they're just measuring the light coming back based on different colors, different light spectrums, and they've come up with some model that means this light spectrum means that distance, et cetera, et cetera. That's all bullshit. It's all very tentative. None of it's ever been validated. Locally it has, but not for those distances.
When they do spectroscopy, they do it in a, you know, an isolated system based, essentially. It's not meant to be done over, I don't know, I heard this on that Dr. John talk about it. He's a that's his profession, spectroscopy.
Oh yeah, he's in the chat today too.
It can't be validated, right? All you
No,
can
it's
do
impossible.
is
Well,
observe
they'll tell
those
you that they
lights.
validated some of it with their probes and whatnot, but then you have to believe that they actually sent their probes up there.
Whatever. It's just a belief that they have.
Well, it's just
I'm gonna go
story
get some
after
work,
story
boys. I'll
after
catch you soon.
story and assumption after assumption that they want us to swallow. They're asking
It's
us
a
to
religion,
believe
though.
and take on faith a whole lot. That's a lot to just take on faith that we can't validate for ourselves. It's more than I'm willing to, that's for sure.
Do you think it's you know, when you've got something that's viable towards a flat Earth, why do you think the Globers are so adamant to just prove even the smallest thing wrong? You know, I mean, if you said that the sky was blue on this particular day, and they were turning around, they would argue and say, well, maybe it was greeny blue, or maybe it was slightly tinged with red because it was coming towards sunset. You know, why is it that whenever you try to prove something, that the Globers cannot just even give you like a millimeter?
Because their whole model is really set. Anything that you move from that model, it collapses, right? Everything comes down. You can start a chain reaction from debunking one thing, and then you can start moving. Things are gonna fall down. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's a great point. And it's my answer would be it's their job. But you know, even just the YouTube channels, even if you just go by the guys who make a living debunking or a partial living debunking what we say, They're just looking for anything. They're never going to agree with anything we say unless it benefits them in some way. They want us to be wrong at every single step. They want to make us look like fools. They want to discourage us. That's their game.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, I just jumped back in again. I just find this kind of, it's Aaron, I just find this kind of, it's kind of like you're all ganging up and it doesn't make much sense, because when ballers talk about their experiments, flat earthers do exactly the same thing. So sure, we might poo-poo it, but you're saying that you guys don't do that, and that's just crap. So, for example, when Stingray was on the other day doing that model for 2 hours, all the flat earthers were just screaming at him, "You've done this, you've done that, you've done this, you've done that." So, like, don't think that you guys aren't capable of doing exactly the same, because you do. If I mentioned focal pendulum, within 2 minutes, you'd all just say, "Nah, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong." If I mention, the southern rotation of the stars in the different hemispheres, you guys will badmouth that. So what's important is that you're not isolated in the way that you attack ballers' arguments, and ballers aren't isolated in the way that they attack flat earth arguments. It's a two-way street, and I think it's pretty even.
Yeah.
Can you explain yourself there, the Wicker Man, please? In the chat you've put, you was going to take your wife out with the super chat money. No, I wasn't, but that's beside the point. And then you've just said, until you seen you was exposed for lying. Right, okay, so can you explain yourself about that, please, Wicker Man? Maybe join the panel and tell us what you actually mean by that. I'm very interested. And get to it, get cracking.
Ballers will do the same. Yeah, we have the same...
There's a difference, right? We cannot go to space or any of that stuff.
We have been to space.
No, we as a common people, so we cannot do that, right?
No, we can't. No.
And the things that we're showing, like, or let's say Ranty showing, it's just a water tank with sugar that anybody can do down here on Earth, right? So when we argue or we're skeptical of things, when we argue or are skeptical of things, are things that we cannot go there or prove for by ourselves. And things that we talk about, I wasn't done. And things that we talk about, you guys can actually go and test.
So you can fly to the southern hemisphere and watch our star rotations. You can build a Foucault pendulum. You can build a Cavendish experiment. Wow. It doesn't have to be limited to space. So you can take space out of the picture. Sure, none of us can go to space. Some rare few people can. But there's lots of experiments that you can do, so you don't need to do that. Look, I don't want to get into it with you, but when you're all a bunch of flat earthers saying, "Oh, ballers do this, ballers do that," don't generalize us all to be the same, and I won't generalize you guys to be the same. I don't generalize. I mean,
fair enough.
Pete Shea is the worst flat earther ever, right? He's just crazy. He's mad as a meat axe. I don't think anyone thinks half of what he says.
Don't summon him. Don't summon him. You're about
Aaron,
to summon
you
him.
guys,
I think that's a valid criticism. I honestly do. I think we should welcome the scrutiny on what we're doing, but the kind of shit that we get, like, from Bob, come on, that deserves to be lampooned. But as far as
Bob the science guy,
criticizing and accusing Randy
I
of
don't like Bob's
and shit.
I don't like Bob's attitude at all. Bob has a overrated level of self-importance, and he thinks that he's better than anyone else, and he actually gets quite aggressive and can be quite demeaning and rude to people and make them feel pretty stupid. And I'm a baller. I don't care if you're a flat earther or a baller. I care about how you present your argument and how you talk and how you deal with people. And that's why I tune into Ranty's show, because most of the time it's people like yourself and a few other people that and Stingray and that can put together decent arguments. So it's not about what you believe, it's how you represent yourself and how you deal with other people. So no, I don't like Bob the science guy at all, but Blue Marble Science, different attitude altogether, Stingray, perfect attitude, really, really nice. Rumpus, can't stand him. I wish he would just disappear. I think he's the worst advocate that ballers could ever have. He's an absolute pig of a man. So I'm pretty even down the middle. It's
Preach
how
it,
you
preach it.
represent yourself.
Tell us more about
So
how you
when you
feel about
guys-
Rumpus. Tell us more. Tell us more.
Rumpus is an absolute wanker. Rumpus is the most rudest man. He was. I bet he's never wiped his own ass. I bet he was brought up in a very rich family where he's never had to do anything at all, and now he thinks that everyone just has to kowtow to him and do whatever he says. And he is just disgusting the way that he talks to people.
Tell us more.
And I
Tell
don't
us more.
understand where the manners went wrong.
Keep going. Keep going.
Just got a random chicken. No, that'll do. But what I'm saying is, when
Oh, come on! You can. There must be more. There must be more.
Well,
Get it off your chest, mate. Get it
when
all
we
off your
get-
chest.
It happens in ballers when there's a bunch of ballers as well. They'll all talk about flat earthers and kind of, it's like this gang mentality, and you're like, yeah, they do this, they do that, they do this, they do that. It's all wrong, and you guys do it as well. So just let's just be kind of not generalize and just kind of try and work together better. That's all.
Hey, I'm right there with you, buddy. I agree with you.
Fair enough.
All
Fair
right, see you guys. I just got like a random chicken. Well, not a random chicken. One of my chickens has just decided to come in and eat the dog food, so I've got to go. See ya.
See you later.
Bye.
Isn't the dog food made of chicken byproduct?
Probably.
Cannibal chicken.
Bro, chickens will eat anything.
Oh yeah.
Chickens eat chicken, beef, anything I throw out there, they eat it. I've seen them eat lizards. Like they'll chase stuff down. Like I said, if chickens were 100 feet tall, we'd be in trouble.
My grandma, when I was a kid, used to take me to the Amish farm. I don't know if you guys know what Amish people are. They live like, it's still the old days, no technology and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd have all the kids out there when they'd behead the chickens, and they'd draw a big red circle on the ground, then cut the chicken's head off. And, the game was to see if the chicken, after it ran around with its head cut off, would land in the circle. It's pretty fun.
It is. In
Just
Mexico,
a
they
random
don't
story
cut their
about
head,
headless chickens.
They spin the chicken until they break their neck, and then they let it run a little bit.
So they're quite tough then. You can behead them and they
The
still...
chickens?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So if you had a 100-foot chicken, like Right the Hand said, and you chopped its head off, it'd just
They'd
stamp
be pecking
all
up
over
people. 100-foot chicken, they'd be pecking people up like they were ants, bro. It'd be a slaughter.
Did you ever heard that term? You run like a headless chicken.
Yes, I have. Yeah,
Never?
Yeah.
That's why.
You guys want another story about an animal when you cut its head off? All right, I'll save it then.
No, I saw that ISIS video. It wasn't that good.
Unless it's
I watched that. I made the mistake of watching that shit right before I was deployed to Iraq. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm going to Canada.
Bro, they gave you a good heads up there, man.
Oh, boy.
Boom, boom.
So what's this stolen valor thing that's been going around, Brandon? I mean, is it just somebody dragging shit up?
Yeah, so I made the mistake of letting it be known that bothers me to be accused of lying about my military service. And a few of the trolls have picked up on the fact that it bothers me and that they're trying to get to me with that shit. So some really bad trolls, and then the Sean Hawkins type and his what would you call them? Disciples, pigeons, parrots? I don't know. His crew.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's only Sean Hawkins. Because he was probably in the military. He was probably a cook or something. Probably did something totally useless. And now anybody from our side that says they were in the military, he's like, oh, stolen valor. And the point, bro, our side doesn't really like the military. So you're not really gaining a whole bunch of points by saying, yeah, I worked for the enemy. So it's a dumb argument all around.
I do a little bit right the hand. I do a little. Like military.
My feelings with the military are really mixed because I enjoyed my time in the military. I liked being a soldier, But obviously, by the end, I couldn't stand what we were doing, and I considered it war crimes. And I spoke out about that. So that's another thing that Sean's hitting me with is like, people in the military don't like you because of what you said, and they think that you dishonored the branches and shit. I'm like, I fucking said the
Well,
truth.
you're just being
Fuck
an
you.
honest person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't agree with something, what you're gonna just because no, you said out
Brandon,
loud.
just remember, at the end of the day, it's only your opinion about yourself that matters. You know, these people, you don't know them in real life. You know, you're never going to meet Sean. They think they're getting under your skin, and all you have to do is just think, well, I know the truth about myself, so what does it matter what a faceless nobody, halfway across the world thinks about me? It's, it's your opinion of yourself that matters. That's all.
Oh yeah,
And
Paige.
maybe,
No, I appreciate
your
that.
family.
It doesn't bother me.
Good.
I just wanted to respond to it a couple times, and now they think that, it really upsets me, and I get really pissed off about it. So they bring it up. They'll probably bring it up more now that we're talking about it.
It's more annoying that they talk about it than it being upsetting. Like, it's just like, oh my God, what are you really going to go on about this again? For God's sake.
Well, and when they say it, I'm like, you're lying. Like, when somebody lies about you, Paige, we all get lied about from time to time, especially in this
That's all they
arena.
have. This
And
is
when
all
someone
this is
that's
how they
all
argue.
they have. That's what you got to remember. They can't afford to talk the truth about you, Brandon, because they can't afford for any of us to be nice, decent human beings. You know what I mean? So they'll get down in the gutter and they'll lie about you and say the nastiest, awfulest things. And then if you do it back to them, all of a sudden, you're the worst person in the world because you've stood up for yourself and fought back. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it took me by surprise the first time. I was like, wow, this person is just blatantly, flat out lying about me, just making shit up. But it's kind of eye-opening to see in some cases, not all cases, who you're dealing with. It tells you who you're dealing with and what they're all about. So it's kind of good in that sense.
Yeah. Gives you more of an idea about what kind of people they are than anything they say about you. Because you know the truth about you, but they're showing you the truth about themselves.
Yep, exactly.
You just got to keep that in your mind, yeah. So, but I love you. I reckon you're great. So don't worry about them.
Well, thanks, Paige. Feelings are mutual. Yeah, but just to clear everything up, yeah, that stolen valor stuff is a flat out lie, and anybody repeating it is just repeating flat out lies. In case that wasn't clear.
So have we had any response? Anybody come in to talk about the test, Randy? I don't know how long I've missed of the show this morning.
Not yet. I mean, basically, I'm going to redo the test for my own self. It's not because anybody else has said there was anything wrong with the test. It's just I want to redo it for myself with some more controls and putting all the solution in one go rather than incrementally over 3 days, because that kind of, on the third day, the solution was a bit meh, dirty. So
right, yep.
I also want to have the wow factor of putting the solution in one go. So getting 20 kilos of sugar, putting it in a solution, making it all, having all that to just put it in one go and watching the result of that. So I think that'll be more of a wow factor to film that. So I'm going to have 3 cameras all at the same time filming, so that there can be no, claims that anything was fraudulently done or anything like that. But yeah, as for comebacks, I've had Jeremy came back to me. Let me tell you what he said. And let me bring it up. He said...
Jeremy or Gem Panda Jeremy?
Yeah, Gem Panda. So Gem Panda said...
Okay, yep.
So I asked him, has he had a chance to have a look at the images? And he said, and I asked him why he legged it, and he said, because I think you were bullshitting. Right? And then he says, not gonna waste my time on your trickery. Right? Wow. If you want to pitch someone refusing to even engage with you because you are too dishonest to deal with as a win, go ahead. So in the 2 sentences he's claiming bullshitting, trickery, and being dishonest. Wow. It's like, how much cognitive dissonance do you need to completely...
Yeah, he's at 99.9%.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally... What you presented has to be fraudulent. It cannot be possibly true because if it is, then that ruins my world paradigm.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's very telling. It's very telling.
Very telling.
So...
This is what I mean. If you listen to what they say, they will tell you the truth about themselves. They do it every day. Every day they're here. You read what they say, listen to what they say, and you'll know what's going on in their head, the kind of person they are.
Joe King says, sounds like Ranty is changing the test. It can't be verified now. What can't be verified now? The tank is still the same. I've not been in today. I've not done anything with the tank. It's exactly as it was when I started with it 4 days ago.
And you can have 2 tests. You don't have to you don't have to do one test and then say, that's all I can prove, I can't do anything else. You can keep doing different tests and seeing if you get any different results. That's the whole idea of science. You keep going and see if anything changes.
Yep.
Like, you guys just want to observe and declare and then go, right, we know everything.
Well, as I say, so there's nothing that can't be verified. Everything's exactly as it was. What do you want to verify? Joe King, what would you like to verify right now? What is it you would like whilst the tank is still in exactly the same position and everything else is still exactly the same? What is it that you would like to verify now? What would you like me to go and do? Would you like me to go down and take an image of what the tank looks like now? Would that appease you in some way?
It was like that measurement of the laser. What height does the laser hit the fish tank before it goes in? It was like, what fucking difference does that make? Like, are you serious? You're just going to pick something. They're just going to pick something you haven't done, and regardless of how inane it is, they'll want you to do it anyway. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. You see, because I'm very engaging and very open with all my information and result. If anybody contacts me and they actually want the information, I'll give it them. If they want every single image, it's going to be more of an issue to give every single image. But if they want a selection, that's fine. If they want 10 or 15, but every one, it's just retarded to send every one. I've already given some out to Stingray, but he's demanding all of the images. I don't know why. So, as I say, mostly on YouTube, you'll get people that will put a video out and there's no way to contact them. There's no way to troll them. There's no way to harass them. There's no way to engage with them and make things up and have them respond to you in chat like I am actually doing, which is engaging with these people and responding to them live, and quite often going and doing things for them live. Like I went and filmed the laser through the tank a couple of days ago for Gem Panda. You don't normally get that from people. People have to make their own mind up on just a video presented. With me, I've shown the evidence. I've shown all the other footage that I have from my camera that showed me in the exact same position with the camera. Nothing changed. I've given information. I've given video. I've given some of the data out to people so they can take it and use it. Nothing's hidden. There's no point in hiding stuff. I'm not just a random person that puts a video out that nobody can verify. Here, everything can be verified.
And comments turned off.
Yeah, everything here can be verified, right? So just to say that, I'm changing the test so it can't be verified. No, I'm just doing a different test. Everything that I've done can be verified because I've got all the supporting data to prove that. Yeah? So I've got everything that can be verified. It's just that I want to move on and do additional tests now. Seems like it's you that wants me to
keep that fish tank exactly the way it is forevermore, so that if they think of anything, they can come in and go, right, I want to see this.
Well, we'll see what happens with the test tomorrow. So start with a fresh tank. do control.
I think it was Joe King in the chat who said something about using seawater, and I thought that was actually a really good idea. Are you near the? You go to Barrow in Finesse or something, don't you?
Yeah. Whose background noise is that?
Oh, mine. Sorry.
Right. So, do I go to Barrow? Yeah. Could I get some seawater to fill that tank up? There's quite a lot of seawater that would need to get half of that tank filled. I think it's around about 40 litres or something to get half of the tank filled.
Maybe you could test. Maybe you could test what the seawater's like how much salt is in the seawater, and then replicate it at home.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but tomorrow I've already got it in my head
that's what's in the air. Like,
well, tomorrow I'm definitely going to
seawater.
repeat. I'm definitely going to repeat the sugar solution tomorrow, and have it a visual of putting all the sugar in one go, so that you can see the original. You can see it without any water in. You can see it with water in. Then you can see it with all the sugar solution in. What 3 sets of images that there can be no, there can be no doubt about what was filmed, because there'll be 3 cameras capturing all the angles to show you that there's no trickery going on. And then I'll release all the footage and photographs of that particular test tomorrow if people want that. So I want a visual of that actually happening, and then I'm happy to perhaps go down to the beach 3 or 4 times and collect some water to actually to do that, because like you say, it's probably more accurate to the atmosphere that we're going to have, with the actual water from the ocean. So we'll give it a go, but it's going to take one. And Blackpool water, it's filthy. It'll need straining first, because it's absolutely disgusting. It's black. I mean, I don't know how you're going to see through that, but yeah. I mean, I suppose the only way you could do it is you could test the density of the salt water by sort of like adding bits of water to it until the egg sank, or adding bits of sugar bits of salt until the egg floated, so you would know at what concentration of salt to put in, so you could figure it out, I suppose. I think if you throw an egg in the sea, it's just gonna sink. So there isn't that much salt in it. It's salty, but not that much.
Sea, but
Yeah,
normal sea, it probably would.
true. Yes. So Phil Kale says, can you take a video of the tank when adding the sugar? Yes, absolutely. I've done that twice actually, Phil. So one of the videos I've actually put out on Speed Up on my channel, so that's out there. The other one, I think I presented it yesterday. You didn't see much because it was really dirty. The tank was dirty, so you didn't see an awful lot, but I did it again. So yeah, actually I might play that video for you now.
I think Phil was the one yesterday, don't hold me to this, but I think he was the one in chat saying, oh, fuzzy photo, Ranty. Like, yeah, it's got shitloads of sugar in it. What do you expect?
So this is for Phil KO. Can you take a video of the tank when adding the sugar? Here we go. So I'm going to put this up now. So this is in the background. So this can play on YouTube whilst we're talking. So this is for Phil KO, especially for you. All right, let's go back. So take an image of this in your head. You can see all the words primer of the tin, right? You can see it all. All right, so this is especially for you, Phil KO. Don't say I don't do anything for my subscribers and people that watch my show. And here I am, just about to drop the additional sugar solution in. Here we go. And then we're just going to watch it settle. In 3 minutes time you'll see the result. Yes? Hello? Who's that? Who's talking then? Nobody? Right, is anybody here to talk, or is everyone on silent for now?
I'm buying some food. Sorry, Ranty.
No worries. Tell them the Earth's flat.
I was watching the chat, seeing what's going on. Is that true that Joe King is a sock of Brenda or not?
No idea.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think there's any way of knowing for sure.
No, definitely not, because he just typed in the chat to me before, oh, Paige is flirting with me. Brenda would have just attacked me. Like,
okay.
Definitely different people.
Yeah, and he didn't say hello morons when he came in either, so. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I might leave this video running for a little bit as well, because it's is it a 28 or 30 minute video? So it's a 28-minute video. So Travis said that Stingray claimed that I'd taken images whilst the water was still sailing and it was all wobbling, and I was just cherry picking the best images, right? That's what his claim is, right? So what you'll see after about 3 minutes of this video, the tank settles down to, so another minute or so, and the tank will be very clear and very still. And then I'll just leave it playing. Just playing the video, and nothing changes, nothing wobbles, nothing's out of position. It all just stays exactly the same. Once it's settled down after just a few minutes, it just all stays the same. There's no cherry picking, so I'll just play the video. This is for Stingray as well. So, Stingray, you got your wish here, because you're saying that I've cherry-picked images. Totally incorrect. Just bearing in mind the guy that just asked before, who was it now? Phil Ko? Can you read the word primer now? You know, now that I've actually just added the solution, can you read the word primer? Because I don't see that you can read it. Do you think it's going to bounce back up in a minute when the video keeps running? Do you think it's going to return to its original position? Or do you think it's going to settle there and stay?
See, why haven't any of the ballers done a test like this showing something you can't see underneath the bottom of the fish tank, then coming up from adding something to the water? Like, that's what they're claiming is happening, so...
Well, I have a theory test for that, actually. So bear with me. I have a theory test for trying it, right? So what I'm going to do, so the test tomorrow is going to put 20 kilograms of sugar in the tank, right? And we're going to obviously see the relationship between some different objects that I'm going to have inside the tank and outside the tank, right? So we're going to see the independent relationships with all of these things. Then once all that's been completed and done, I will then have a fairly saturated tank of sugar solution, right? So what I'm going to do then, and I'm going to try and make this happen, and it might even work, is if I reduce the density in the tank by adding water and put an obstruction in the way. So if I put an obstruction in the way of the tin, will I be able to loom it up by reversing the effects, you know? Possibly.
You know what else, Randy? How wide is the fish tank? Like 2 foot or something?
It's 1 foot wide.
Like 6 foot.
No, it's 1 foot wide.
How long?
3 foot long.
Because you could have something on the side as well and show the difference between what looking through 3 foot of this density compared to sideways through.
Somebody said that to me yesterday. Who was it who said that to me yesterday? Somebody mentioned that. Was it? Oh, Dr. John D. I was talking to him about this, and he mentioned it to me yesterday, and I thought that was an excellent idea, actually.
Yeah, good idea. Yep.
And to actually get yes, and I'm glad you've reminded me of that, because I would have forgotten that. Genuinely, I would not have remembered it. My memory's terrible.
Oh, cool.
So I need to write that down. I need to write that down.
Yeah, we're all getting older.
I need to write that down, otherwise I will forget that. Let me remember to do a side on as well. So yeah, I mean that's great, because if there's not a huge,
you're using the exact same solution, you're just looking through different amounts, so they can't, say, oh well, that's a different tank, so it's like, well, no, it's the same thing. Side
on 2. There we go. So I'm going to leave that there, so I'll see that in the morning, otherwise I'll forget. Right, good job, Paige. Good job for reminding me of that. So yeah, I can take a control from the side as well, and we can see what happens to a smaller selection, and we can get a calculation for that too. And if it works out that the calculation is more than 3 times the amount for a length view as a side view, then that will be a cumulative effect rather than just a linear.
Yeah, you might actually be able to do the math for it.
Yeah, it won't be a linear thing. It will be a cumulative thing.
A cumulative thing, yeah.
Yeah, like a squared, No, more like a squared thing. But I don't know whether I'll be able to get a really good result.
Like
well, no, 7.6R. You know, if you work on that, that's a squared, isn't it? 8 inches per mile squared.
Oh, yes, it is. Yep.
So if this is an 8 inch per mile D, then 8 inches per mile squared, but it's for a density thing, then you'd expect to see a non-linear reaction result for that. But I don't know whether the tank's big enough, 1 foot versus 3 foot, to actually get a definitive result. But we'll try it and see what comes up.
Aaron has he breeds fish. I don't have any of my stuff. I haven't done it for so long. I've gotten rid of all my fish tanks and stuff. But he might have spare, fish tanks lying around that are actually bigger. Might be willing to do a test in a bigger one as well. Who knows?
Well, this is 7.5 minutes into the video. The tank has settled down. There's no more waving or wobbling of anything. This tape measure occasionally loses a little bit of focus, but then comes back into focus again. But essentially, it's now stopped doing that. Same with everything else in the tank, and it's still playing. We're 7 minutes 48 into the video. So this is for Stingray that's saying that I was cherry picking. You can now take a screenshot of this image, if you like, and tell me that I've manipulated it in some way. Because this is on a video. Right? This is a video recording of when I applied going back here to the start, from that, where you saw all the tank, all the primer tin, to that, where we see all of it, well, most of it missing. Right, so this is on a video, and there you go, all the way through. Nothing, once it's settled, it's settled. There you go. Look at this.
Greetings.
There we go.
We can call it Shane's law, 7/60.
7/60.
Get rid of Snell's law and have Shane's law.
Yeah.
Ranty's law. Hey, Ranty, question real quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Will you be making more observations on your water tank?
Yeah, I'm doing that tomorrow. So I'm going to do a whole new set tomorrow. With
Matt, can I suggest something that may be helpful?
Sure.
Visually?
Sure. What is it?
You think you can get your hands on some checker pattern boards, and so they can see more of the distortion? I think that would help to see if you put just on both sides, long ways and sideways. If you're gonna look at that, just put like a print out like a checkerboard.
I'll see if I can get a hold of it. I'm not gonna make any promises, but I'll see if I can find something that will suffice.
I can already hear the.
I can't hear anything, Paige. You literally cut out when you said it. I could already hear that, and then you cut out. Paige, you there?
Well, it just gives you a better idea of what's going on with the light. I mean, when you have one of those checkerboards like that, it's a lot easier to see the distortion.
Okay, let me have a think about it then. Let me see if I can grab a hold of something. I might put it onto one side of the tank, rather than the whole tank, because there's some other things that I want to put in there. To have a...
Right, yeah. Yeah, like for example, when you take a photograph, let's say forensics or anything you're gonna do you want to have something for reference, so they'll put this little what do you call it, ruler that has all these black and white different shapes, and each one of those have a respective size and whatnot, so that kind of helps you figure out what some reference. And also if you have just a checkerboard pattern, then you can see a lot easier, the whole picture where everything's distorting, instead of just looking at, let's say, a can and just trying to figure out what's being distorted or not. So.
Okay, yeah, I mean that seems easy enough. The thing is, for a lot of people, rather than counting squares, it's easier for them to see the tin. And the one thing I would say is that in that image, in the series of images, we actually saw some masking tape appear in the images that were not showing in the original images. So if we're going to be doing the checker square thing, you could get confused about which square you're looking at.
Well, right. Well, you could just do a ruler, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 centimeters, and then you number it or whatever, and just give you a better idea, more reference. Yeah, because if you just have squares, it can get a bit confusing. But originally my idea was just visually to see, more make the distortion, compression more noticeable throughout the whole field of view. Just something to add instead of just having one thing you're looking at. You can have it to the side.
Okay. Cleary says, can I do a tankless shot? Yes, I will. So a tankless shot without the tank there, yeah, I could do that. So I'll set the platform up first where I'm going to put the camera. I'll take a tankless shot, then I'll put the tank in place, take an image of the tank without any water in. Then I'll take an image of the tank with some just water in it, no sugar solution, and then I'll do it with the sugar solution. So you'll have 4 different controls there, or 3 controls and the results. Why what? I don't understand. Why? Well, I do understand, but can anyone put it into real words why this needs to be done again? For the Globers side. Anybody? Carlos?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to switch over from Bluetooth to a speaker. You don't have to do it again. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it again, the more things you have to look at and reference and everything, the better. More data, the better. I quite honestly, I haven't looked at your observation detail and with time or anything. So I don't know what to think of it.
Do you think it's interesting that it's the density inside the tank is the same throughout all the tank, and there isn't any density gradients inside the tank, so it's not dense lower and not so higher? We've managed to, with the way that I've added the sugar solution, create the whole tank to be the same density, and that's just created this sinking effect without any refraction. Sort of like through the gradients going up and down. It's just been one density difference, just density alone.
That's what I was going to suggest, Randy. Are you going to try to achieve the density on the next round or not?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm going for 20 kilograms of sugar this time. So at the moment in the tank, there's about 14.5. So yes. I want to add that little bit more in and just throw it all in one go and show the effect.
I found it interesting what Aaron Armstrong was suggesting. We did this in physics when I was in college, and we had trouble with that. And like I think I've mentioned before, we wound up putting just the dry sugar and covering the bottom of the tank, and then we just ran a hose from the hot tap water and slowly filled the tank over time and went off and left it. Didn't stir it, and overnight that sugar melted and it left a dense layer on the bottom. So we got our laser to bend after we did that. So that might be a suggestion for setting up.
Well, no, I don't want it. I don't want the laser to bend. I just want to create a density, a different density throughout the whole tank, so it's all the same. And the way I was able to achieve that was by boiling the sugar. So the sugar was placed in a pan, boiling water was put into it, stirred and stirred and stirred until it fully dissolved, and then I poured that into the tank, which was just water, and that allowed the water to dissipate throughout the whole tank and create a level gradient, a level density throughout the whole tank, rather than it being built up in layers. And funnily enough, that was an unexpected benefit, I think, to this theory about what's causing the light to just sink things. You know, the density gradient that we live in, just to naturally lower things down in the distance. You know, if I'd had the gradient, then, you know, it wouldn't have been the same. It would have been refraction that caused that. You know, but this is just density.
Okay, I see. That's what I was asking about the gradient. So you don't want a gradient. You just want a uniform density throughout the solution.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I originally wanted a gradient, right? So it's funny how things work. So I originally wanted a gradient so I could see refraction, right? That's what I wanted. So not realizing, and I only found this out after I'd actually analysed the water solution and you know, compared it from the top to the bottom to see whether it was uniform, and it was. I only, you know, this was like I fell into this because I wanted layers to see this refraction. I didn't get that, but what I did get was just a linear compression. Well, not even a compression, a linear lowering of the image in the background, and that gave me this inspiration about, well, maybe we can replace 76R with 76D. Just use their calculation for radius and mess around with the calculations just ever so slightly and change it for a density gradient, as you know, sort of like 8 inches per mile squared density, you know, because maybe that's how we view things in this dense atmosphere that we live in.
Yeah.
One quick question. I'm sorry, I really haven't really looked at your observation, but if you draw an imaginary line in between
Sorry, we lost you there, Carlos.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, did you keep putting your finger over the mic?
Yeah, hang on. Sorry, it's my.
Come on, Carlos.
Oh.
Left lane, is there anything you want to
add? Is it better now? Sorry, guys.
Carlos having trouble.
Yeah, is am I still having trouble?
You know, you're all right,
No,
but
you're good now.
Right, go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, just if I go out, let me know. Anyway, if you draw an imaginary line between the center of your lens and the object you're looking at, is that line parallel to the level of the water?
No.
Ah, okay.
No, it's through the water. Yeah, so let's say that I haven't measured it to the inch, but I'm going to surmise that it's around about 3 inches or 4 inches above the bottom of the tank. And the water that was originally in the tank was at 7 inches. Now it's probably around about 8 or 9, probably 9 or 10 actually in depth, but the camera's still at just 3 or 4 inches. So it's nowhere near the top. It's definitely looking through the water.
No, yeah, I'm aware of that. What I'm saying is the line of sight, the line in between your lens, you know, if you draw a line in between your lens and your object, is that line parallel to the level of the water?
Parallel to the level of the water, yes.
Okay, because what you would run into if you start looking downwards, because you have the glass in between the water and the glass in the air, then you have refraction there once you start looking in that angle. Yeah. So regardless of, you know, if
the center of the lens is level with the top of the pot that's inside the tank. So we're looking dead level across that.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying. As long as you're looking perpendicular to the walls of the tank, then that won't put any refraction in between the air and the glass and the water. I just wonder, because if you do look downwards, then then you start getting some refraction from the walls of the tank and the water and the air.
What if you look upwards? Does it do the same, Carlos?
Exactly the same, yep.
So you're saying when we look up to an object over through the atmosphere, we're getting some added distortion or refraction due to angle?
No, I'm saying that if you're looking through a fish tank, that once you start looking in an angle, the camera and the object are not submerged in the medium, so you're gonna have refraction in between the water, the glass, and the air. That's why I'm saying that, just as long as you're looking perpendicular through the tank,
Do you think that happens through the atmosphere?
No, because for the atmosphere, it's not a fish tank.
Just give us a minute, guys. You guys carry on. I'm just going to go and get a drink. Rumpus is here, by the way, so I'll be back in about 2 minutes. You carry on.
Have you ever looked at I'm sure you looked at a fish tank, and as you look in an angle on a fish tank, you will notice a lot of refraction, don't you?
No, I get what you're saying. I just think the atmosphere creates those effects over long distances.
Okay, that's not what I was saying, and I don't think that's the case. But okay. Did you say the rumpus is here?
Eat a rumpus.
Release the rumpus.
Hey, before we get into that, I've got a question to ask. The density gradient between versus one consistent density throughout the whole thing. What difference do you guys think that's going to make? Because in my mind, if you've got one consistent density and you're seeing this sinking or the light, going down behind the pot, that means to me that the density is causing it, especially since the more sugar you added, the lower it got. So even in a gradient, you're still going to have the same thing. It's just going to be a matter of severity and maybe differential results at different levels in the gradient, right? But it's still going to sink.
Now, depending on how you set your observation up and the angle at which you view your object, I would guess that you could probably, like if you're looking at a downward angle, and you set your flower pot in the solution and something beyond the tank shorter than the flower pot, I would predict you'd probably see looming through that.
Due to the gradient or just due to the
gradient
angle?
Yeah.
Due to the gradient.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're looking from the top down. You'd be looking from a less dense to a more dense.
Ranty, you said you somehow established that the sugar solution was the same density at different points. I haven't been watching much of this thing. How did you do that?
So I took a sample from the top, took a sample from the bottom, put it in a pint glass, put an egg in it. It's the same amount of mils in, 300 mils in each, one from the top, one from the bottom. The egg floated, so I had to reduce the density of the liquid, so I put another 100 mils in each, and the egg sank to the bottom in both. So that was good enough for me.
But don't you understand? If the density of the sugar solution has got a gradient, but all of them are greater, then the egg will sink in both cases.
Yes, well, I'm sorry, but I don't have a university around the corner. I'm a painter and decorator. Hold on.
But you need to
hold on. Don't go into it. Don't go into a rumpus mode. So we have to do what we can do with how we can achieve that. Okay. So I felt that putting an additional 1/4 extra in and getting the same result with the egg was close enough to know.
But it isn't.
Hold on just a minute. Close enough to know that there wasn't much of a density gradient. And I'll tell you for why and how I was able to hold on. Was because when I shone the laser through the tank, the laser never curved, ever.
Oh, right. That is a proper. Okay, that's a much more sensible test.
Right. So that's one way of doing it. Now the second one was the laser didn't curve. right?
Right, I haven't seen you doing some systematic moving the laser up and up the side of the tank and seeing if the thing doesn't bend. I haven't seen you do that, but then I may have missed that. Perhaps you did do that.
Yes, I did do that. In fact, I showed the video of that in this earlier
hold on.
today.
So let me just establish what you did and didn't do. Did you get the laser on the side of the tank at the bottom and then very slowly raise it up to the top of the tank and then see that throughout your motion of that, doing it slowly, that there was no bending of the laser while you did that?
Yes.
Okay. And also, you've put in too much sugar. I mean, you said a moment ago that you're looking for some uniform density, but that's a whole lot. That's not the situation in the atmosphere. That's so you're not modelling the atmosphere at all.
How do you know what the default parameters are for the atmosphere? The default as in for vision. The default. Hold on. Let me just start again. Right. So we all have eyeballs and we can all see. Right. Now, the argument from the Globers, listen to me, is that if you had no atmosphere, you'd be able to see forever. Right. No problem. Right. You'd even come round and you can see your own arse in a telescope. Right.
No, you wouldn't.
But let me just finish. You also let me just finish. Nobody has been able to experience the Earth without any atmosphere. Nobody's been able to experience it without any density in the atmosphere. Nobody's been able to experience that. So where do we make the default for that? What's the default position? It's because your idea is that the default position is that you should be able to see forever and see round the Earth and see your own arse in a telescope. That's your default position.
No, it isn't. Jesus Christ, you moron!
If you said on a clear enough day you could look in the telescope and you could see all the way around and see your arse in the telescope.
No, I didn't say that.
Yes,
listen
you did.
to what I said. I'll repeat it carefully. Now listen to me carefully for once and try and understand what I'm saying.
Don't obfuscate from the point. It seems like you want to argue about it.
You're not going to let me make the point.
Yes, I will. But I will. But is it really relevant to the point that I'm making? That's what I'm saying. It's like
you've just made a statement that's completely incorrect.
What you want to do is you want to micromanage every sentence that I say rather than take the broad.
You're making an error every few seconds.
Let me just tell you.
Every 5 seconds.
How can you determine?
My vote is gone.
How can you determine what is the default position for the sinking effect in the atmosphere?
There is no sinking effect.
With me changing the density of the water in the fish tank, I was able to make the image lower.
Yes, by having an extra high density and then by making it lower, you would get that effect in comparison.
But how do we know?
Oh my God! Can I get more than half a few words out? Right. So you haven't done the sensible thing, which is to for a start, why you've got things outside the tank, I've no idea. B, so they should be in the tank. C, you should start off with water with no sugar in it at all. So that gets you the no refraction case. Because obviously it's uniform. Then you should start adding some sugar, and what's more, you do not allow it to settle. So because you keep on, you have to leave these things. Oh my God, you have to leave the sugar solution to settle for at least 24 hours. Everybody who's ever done this experiment and done it properly says you have to leave it for 24 to 48 hours for it to get the layers correct. If you don't do that, then you've basically got a random mix in there that has not settled into a stable state. So the fact that you've taken oh my God, the fact you haven't you've got lots of different unstable states you've been taking pictures of is absolutely worthless.
Okay, so I've just played a video what I recorded, the time lapse, and only got through to around about 7 minutes in, and it was settled, Rumpus. So I don't know where you're.
Impossible.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
I can put the video straight back up again, and you won't see any deviance for the remainder of the 20 minutes that I've recorded it for.
Well, it needs 24 hours.
I have left it. I have left the tank for 18 hours, returned, and it's been exactly the same as it was when I left it the day before.
Okay, so have you then?
I've taken images of it.
The way you would check that to do what I said about having the laser. So after you've done something, you would then get the laser on the side of the tank and then move it from the bottom to the top very slowly, and then take a video side on of what's going on, and that should show you there's a difference or not.
Okay,
so if you, it could be that it could be that you have. I mean, okay, perhaps if you're okay, well, if you have saying you've done that, but I must admit the thing is you always get everything wrong. But if you're saying that that's what you've done, then that's interesting.
Well, yes,
you
it is
managed to get it
interesting.
settled within an hour, but I don't believe that. I'm afraid.
So he doesn't always do everything wrong.
Yeah,
he does every
yeah,
time.
well, let me just finish. The Rumpus has come in and he's told us how we should perform the test. Hold on, Paige. Hold on, everybody. Rumpus has come in and he's basically telling me how I should have performed the test and tested for the gradient. So I tested for the gradients with obviously a physical test and then with the laser, in which case the Rumpus was then like, oh, you used the laser, did you? Oh, right, well, you did that right. Then he turned around and said...
Okay, you did that right. Well, we don't know. I bet you've got it wrong. I bet you didn't do it properly.
Then he turned around and he said, okay, so you didn't... you didn't leave it for long enough for the things to settle. Well, funnily enough, yes, I did, and I've got a time lapse. Firstly, let me just finish. I've got a time lapse of showing you what happens through a time lapse. It's a 30 minutes time lapse, and after about 7 minutes in the video, everything just stays exactly the same. You come back to it a few hours later, and it's still exactly the same. Nothing changes. The following day, when I returned after 18 hours, the tank was exactly in the same position. The images were exactly identical from the day before. Nothing had changed. Right. So let me just finish.
With a laser. You didn't do that. I bet you didn't do that more than once.
Let me finish, Rumpus. So all the tests were performed, and all the times left were given equally. Nothing was, nothing changed through the day. Nothing changed. There was no difference between after an hour of leaving the tank and leaving it for 18 hours. It was exactly the same. There was not. I took the images. I've got the bunch. I have all the images, Rumpus. There's not any change.
Well, that's because, you've put in too much sugar.
Then,
so that could
now it's too much sugar. Now, let me just finish. Now then, we as humans, we don't understand just how much pressure we have on our bodies, right? Is it around about 15 pound per square inch or something like that? So. You think about this. How many elephants are sitting on us if you added it up in pressure that was sitting on us? Do you feel an elephant sitting on you, Rumpus, right now? Because I certainly don't. Now then,
right, that's because,
as density... Listen, no, just let me finish. Now, you're telling me that by adding just a few kilos of sugar to that water, I made too much density in there. But at what point do we say there is too much density? This isn't a very small scale. When we're looking at an object that's 50 miles away, and we can see a mountain range that doesn't now match up to how it should on a flat plane. That's 50 miles away, Rumpus. This is a 3-foot tank, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So, over that same expanse, when you scale it out, it certainly wasn't. All I was doing was replicating the pressure effects of something.
You weren't.
Yes, I was. Density effects. The density effects that, could happen with vision over a very long distance, but able to scale it in a tank, which I was able to perform. Now, I showed sinking just through density alone.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Now, if anybody else wants to take over for now, because the Rumpus is rumpusing, so
well, no,
you've
had the past 5 minutes. You've been in a monologue, and I haven't been able to give a single response.
Because everything you said, everything you came in to say, you were trying to say I'd done the test wrong, and everything I did.
You have done it wrong.
No, it's not.
You have done it wrong.
Right, carry on, guys.
Right, you said you checked.
Must have, Randy, because it proves me wrong.
You said you checked. You said you checked. I do not believe. Well, I'm going to suspect. You claim you tested it was the same. I do not. Well, I'm very suspicious that you will not have done the test I described about moving the laser from the bottom to the top initially after 1 hour and then 18 hours later. I bet you just did it once, if at all, and did it properly. Secondly, all you've demonstrated with your video, no one else seems to have. I mean, you're claiming you've got this in a stable state. Well, I'm not going to say absolutely not that's the case, but it would be very unlikely, it seems to me. Third point, you seem to put in too much sugar, which means that what you've possibly done is that you've put such a concentration of sugar in there that it hasn't got an opportunity to form a gradient. And number 4, you've demonstrated that when you did put the sugar in, you also doubled the water, which means in theory you'd have the same concentration and therefore the same effect. But when we've seen the video, you've shown that there's a non-linearity, so that hasn't occurred.
That's incorrect, Rumpus. You can do the formula, you can add this up. I'll give you the calculations if you want. I think I already worked it out.
Well, your first video, you said you did that. You said you put in twice as much sugar and twice as much water.
No, I didn't. Now then, let me finish. So the tank was 7 inches deep by 1 foot wide by 3 inches. By 3 foot wide. 3 foot long by 1 foot wide by 7 inches deep. You work out the litres, and I already did that before. I think it's around about between 30 and 40 anyway litres. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's around that. Now, every time that I added 1 kilogram of sugar, right, I added 750 mils of water. Now I added incrementally, at least on 6 different occasions. Sometimes I added just 2 kilograms, sometimes I added 1, sometimes I added 3, and each time it was no more than 2 1/4 litres extra of water. So you saying that I doubled the water?
Well, you said
when there was already. No, I didn't. No, you just didn't listen, Rumpus. I was adding a very small amount of water that was probably saturated with sugar into a very big tank of water that had much more volume of water in it, right? So it was able to disperse around it. And then I just incrementally added bits up. No, you just don't listen, Rumpus. See what I mean? You've come in and you've told me that I've done the experiment wrong, and you don't even understand what I did.
Well, okay, I'll go back and check what you said in the first video. I thought you may have said it. Perhaps you didn't do that, but you certainly, I recall you saying that. But okay, perhaps it's possible I may have misheard that. That's just conceivable. But anyway, the point is that you've had this non-linear. I mean, for instance, you've got this non-linearity. You've demonstrated yourself where the things like the paint. The stretching of one part is much greater than the other. So you've not got a linear density gradient in there for a start. And the fact you haven't compared the non-refractive or the without sugar. I mean, the whole point is, I thought what you were trying to do is just compare the case with no refraction with some standard refraction with a density gradient. And now you're saying you're actually aiming for a uniform density. Well, if that's the case, then you wouldn't get any sinking effect. If you've achieved what you said you have, then you wouldn't get any refraction. It would be uniformly refracting. So the fact that you are getting a sinking effect, you're claiming, with a uniform density is completely wrong.
That's where your level of understanding in this situation may be not correct, because nobody predicted this. Right? Nobody.
You said you want a uniform density.
Let me finish. No, I originally aimed to get a gradient.
No, but what you've said what now you've got was uniform. You just said it.
So now I have a uniform gradient all throughout the tank.
And are you getting the sinking that you're looking for?
Yes.
Right, in which case that cannot be correct.
How do you know that it's not just the density doing this?
Because if you had uniform density,
how do you know it's not the density doing it? If it's just the density, Rumpus, listen to me. I don't want you to get try and interrupt me. I want you to listen here. Just no, listen. Because my theory with what's actually transpired is that you can replace your R value with D for densities, right? So you can still have your little calculations for 8 inch per mile squared, but if you can replace that with that R value with a D value density, what this tank experiment possibly is showing, if I do have a uniform density throughout this and it's not being refracted, it's just the effects of the density causing this, then you have to acknowledge that is a counter to your claim of 7/6 R. Absolutely.
Right. If you have achieved a uniform density in that tank, you would not get any refraction effects.
Who said it's refraction?
Look, you've been going on for 5 minutes. I barely had 5 words. Jake, shut up. I've got to make out. Stop interrupting the few seconds I've got to make my point, Paige. Jesus.
But it's not refraction.
You're wrong. You just love interrupting someone the first 4 words of their response.
But you are wrong.
Oh my God, you've had 5 minutes ranting. I haven't had 4 words here. Right. So if you have uniform density in the tank, by definition, you will not get refraction effects, because refraction only occurs, the bending of light, if you've got a non-uniform density. Now, and the fact that you... oh my God. And hold on. And if you have the straight lines you claim of the laser, it cannot possibly be refracting. You've demonstrated the laser. So therefore, you're not getting refraction.
Exactly. We're not getting refraction. So what are we getting? We're getting just a sinking image. The image is not behaving like the laser. The image is not behaving like the laser, Rumpus. It's
Well,
not behaving the same as the
happening.
laser. Yeah, it is happening though. That's the thing. That's the thing. It is happening.
It can't be happening.
It is happening.
You've confused also the issue by having the stuff outside the tank for God knows what reason.
But
if you've got the laser, if the laser isn't bending, then there is no bending of the light. So what?
Yes, I know. But the image is sinking. See this image down at the bottom, Rumpus? You see this very bottom one?
Hold
right.
on.
I'm
looking.
Right, look on me on the show channel. Right. Do you see this? Do you see this lower image? This lower image.
Hold on, it's giving me a bloody no entry sign again. Try again. No, it's giving me no entry.
Can you if you watch it on the watch page, you'll definitely see it on the watch page.
Why is it doing that? It does that occasionally. Can you reshare it, Ranty?
Yeah, of course can you. So let me reshare my screen right now. So this lower image that I took here, where it's absolutely sunk, right? So this is where it's already been sunk. This was when I used the laser in the tank, and the laser was dead straight. The laser was
that looks like an unrefracted case to me. That looks like the normal case.
Just a minute. So the laser was dead straight, Rumpus, and the primer was lower than the actual pot in the foreground, right? Now, if you look at let me scroll back out and I'll show you the top image. You've probably already seen these images.
I've seen some of them.
But can you see the word primer? You can read all that. So this was with less sugar water in. This was with less.
Exactly, that's my point.
Just let me finish, Rumpus, please.
That's my point. That's what should happen. That's what's giving you the concentration gradient. By filling up with so much sugar, you're reducing.
Just a minute.
By filling up with sugar, you're removing the gradient.
Just shut up. So
I know you don't like me invalidating
just
you.
Let me finish what I'm saying. So I put more sugar solution in, creating more in your effect, more in your world.
No,
more of a gradient in here.
This is what point I tried to make to you earlier. By putting in more sugar, you're eliminating the gradient because you've put so much in. As I said, one of the first points I made, you've put in so much sugar, you've created a uniform. By putting in less sugar, which is what I said at the start of this point, you would then get the gradient. By putting in so much sugar, you have stopped there being a gradient.
Well, you do realise that the laser always shone through in straight lines and never curved. You do realise that. And yet, in every incremental part of the sugar, the primer tin lowered, right? Every single time. So the laser wasn't behaving the same as the ambient light, right? That is an absolute fact.
Right, for this case you've got here, which is what I would regard as the sort of non-refracted case. This would be the case where possibly you've used lots and lots of sugar, and therefore you're seeing no refraction. And I bet this one would give you the laser of the straight line. But if you then went back to the stage where you put in a little bit of sugar to begin with and let it settle, that's when you're going to get your maximum sugar concentration gradient. And then I bet you the laser light would bend.
Rumpus, you're all over the place, mate.
No, I'm not. You're just not doing this properly. You're just being sloppy as usual.
The place.
No, you're just being sloppy.
What a lot of horseshit.
You always get it wrong, Ranty. You always get it wrong.
Always. No good, Ranty. Always wrong.
So
when we make an observation, we're looking 3 miles away. How much of a gradient do you really think we're looking through? It's all the same. We're looking through all the same layer of atmosphere.
It's like refraction. The gradient is still a vertical gradient. I don't know what someone. Do you understand what the gradient is? The gradient's going in vertically, so you have more dense air at the bottom, then it gets gradually less dense, and that situation, just like in the sugar tank here, would cause the light to bend down and therefore cause things to be lume.
We're looking parallel with Earth, though. We're not looking through that.
Exactly,
gradient.
we're looking vertically. So there is
no, you're not. You're looking horizontally.
Looking down.
You're looking
this
horizontally.
Isn't a gradient. Yeah, this isn't a gradient.
Let me explain it again. You obviously didn't understand. Here we go again. The layers are horizontally orientated, so there's more dense air at the ground level, and it gradually becomes. Oh my God! Will you stop interrupting me? 4 words into every answer I ever give. Shut up! Shut up! You can get your turn in a second. Wait for a moment, and then you can speak. Not 4 words into my answer. So the gradients.
You're wrong.
Oh my God! Shut up. Right, so here we go. The gradients are the more dense layer near the ground, and they gradually become less dense. So the layers are horizontal layers, and they become less dense. Go ahead, Paige.
We're looking vertically.
They become.
We're looking vertical through this, though. It's not.
No,
we're not looking
horizontally.
through.
No, we're looking horizontally.
Sorry, horizontally.
But the gradients go from the bottom to the top in a vertical way,
Yes,
like the
but
gradients are horizontal,
Yes,
but
correct.
each level above going vertically, they get less and less dense. But
That's
we're
exactly what I
looking
said. So why
straight horizontally through the same gradient. It doesn't change horizontally. It only changes vertically.
Correct, and that is the
Yeah, we're
situation.
not-
If you knew
But
anything
he's
about,
looking through the fish tank
My God.
horizontally.
yes, he is. That's what I keep on saying. Why have you just repeated
for
everything
proving my
I've just said? You've just
And-
repeated everything I've been saying for some unknown reason. Let's
proves
try it
that
again.
what?
Let's try it again. Given that we have these horizontal layers which go dense near the bottom of the tank or in the bottom of the atmosphere, and they get less dense going up, those are the situations, if you knew anything about Snell's law, in which you will get curvature by looking horizontally. Now, you may think that looking along the line of the layer will cause no refraction, but you would be wrong. That's not the
No,
situation.
he showed
that
it
happens.
does cause refraction looking
Yeah,
horizontally
he's
through
actually
that.
done a
Yeah,
test and shown it.
point. Except unless you have a uniform density. And because Ranty's put
Yeah,
so much...
looking horizontally,
Oh my
looking through the
God.
same density
Ranty
layer.
has put so much sugar in there, he has a uniform situation for quite a lot of his photographs.
looking
because you're
through it.
looking through a
He's not
uniform
getting any
level
refraction.
of the
Okay,
atmosphere.
right, listen.
My
So
God.
let's get this right. So if I have a uniform, you're agreeing that let's go with your analogy. So now we have a uniform density inside the tank, and it's now saturated, right? Yeah. And you've seen that the image has sunken, right, with more density. But obviously, it's that saturated with density. It has lowered the painting beneath the actual size of the pot in the foreground, right?
Well, I believe that's the result of you not allowing it to settle as well. Well, the mere fact that it's done that means it's not uniform. The fact that it does what you just said means it cannot be uniform.
That is your assumption.
No, it's physics.
No, it's
Science.
not. Have you tested for just density?
Let's see it, Rumpus.
Sorry, someone interrupted you there, Ranty. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear the question.
He has a test.
Have you tested for just...
You're being interrupted, Ranty. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Have you tested for just density?
Well, I do actually have a fish tank, and for the very purpose of doing this, I had one for about 3 weeks now, which I've been intending to got myself a laser and everything, so I was going to do this similar experiment.
Do a similar experiment then, and just.
But I haven't tested it yet. No, I haven't personally done it, but
Right.
I know from the physics. That if you have a uniform, this is a fundamental established fact. That if you have a uniform density object, it cannot do it. Stop interrupting, Paige. Paige, try and behave like an adult. Be quiet. You can better turn the second page.
Right, okay, so I don't think that the Rumpus understands this. I don't think his cognitive dissonance is allowing him to actually consider the option here that there is just a uniform density in that tank which is forcing the image down in the background, which is not acting the same as the laser, right? Now then, that is totally devastating, the two things combined. The fact that it's with increased density, you're getting a lowering of the image, and the fact that it doesn't behave the same as the laser, that is also kind of devastating to his argument. More work is going to be required, but Rumpus is losing his shit right now because he can't process this. He's unable to process this. Now, I need to shout out Dojin, who's pissing his side right now. Thank you for the $10 super chat, and let's get back to this.
Talking bullshit because everybody knows there are refraction indexes of gases and they are not there for nothing, right?
Yeah, but they're not uniform, you twat, you moron, you utter idiot. You self-denying little twat. What a moron. Gases are not uniform, you idiot. God, what a twat. Stupid, utter moron, that twat.
So, Rumpus.
You just came in here to obfuscate, didn't you, Rumpus?
No, yes, he did.
This whole conversation, you haven't come up with one valid criticism at all.
I brought a little bit of science into discussion. I know you don't like to have science shoved down your throat, but I'm afraid I've brought it.
Belligerent arsehole.
Is that what you think you did? Shove science down our throat?
You have pseudoscience.
Well, you don't understand. You're science deniers.
Science is empirical. It proves things.
Well, no, it doesn't actually.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
You've never done an experiment, Rumpus.
That's why your
just
science
using.
doesn't prove anything, 'cause
You've
it's
never.
pseudoscience.
You've never done an experiment, Rumpus. Just using density to show the same effects. You've never done that. You admitted it. You've never seen an experiment that does that. If this tank is uniform all the way through, and it does do that, then it is a counter to your claim.
Not possible.
You don't know because you've never done it.
He's done it.
I've done it.
It's not uniformly dense.
How do you know that? That's just your assumption. The laser didn't bend, Rumpus.
We've had hundreds of years.
The laser didn't bend, Rumpus.
We've had hundreds of years
if the laser doesn't bend,
Paige, why do you feel an obligation to
Yes, I know
interrupt?
he
You're
did.
going to get a turn in a second.
yeah,
Just try and behave. Just try and have a sensible exchange. Let some other people speak, and then you get a turn instead of interrupting all the goddamn time. So as I was saying, we know we've understood these principles for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the fact that you claim to have got something that disputes this, I'm afraid means you've made an error as usual. You have made an error as usual, and you will find that if you do the laser test that I suggested, you will find that it will be bending just in this way that reflects your bending, your sinking.
You do it.
Now, Paige, you can go ahead now. Paige, you can now go ahead. Say your bit.
Right, Rumpus.
You shut up. When you get the opportunity to speak, you shut up, you stupid.
I want to share my screen with you, Rumpus.
Oh, God.
I want to share my
Fuck
screen.
you, old cunt.
You are stupid.
I tell you what, if you were in front of me now, I would punch you in the face, you motherfucker.
You'd
My
hurt your
God.
hand. You'd hurt your hand.
I don't care.
You would. Well, okay, you don't care.
I
You
would
hurt
lose
your hand.
all
Okay.
your teeth, that's for sure.
No, you wouldn't. You'd be just hurting your
You
hand.
must be fucking 3 foot tall or something with a pin for a dick, because you are just unbelievably.
I'm 6 foot tall, and you would hurt your hand a lot if you hit me in the face. Carry on, Randy.
Gives a fuck.
Please.
Thank you, Dojin, for the super chat. He's having a bit of a roaring time here. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Oh, right. I don't even know if I can be bothered presenting this now and shutting you up.
Makes my day.
It's actually quite funny just listening to him make bullshit up.
You just, I mean, you're a science denier, Ranty, that's your problem, and you don't understand that if it's uniformly dense, it cannot refract. See again, Paige, when you get an opportunity to speak, you don't speak, but when your other people are speaking, you feel obliged to interrupt like a small child who's bursting to say something and can't wait their turn. Behave like an adult for once, Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
God, like you. No,
Go ahead, make your point now, you've got the opportunity. No, you see, shut up now. Every time she gets the opportunity to speak, she shuts up.
Such a dickhead.
Yeah, you're more. I know you're a science. I know you don't like having science shoved down you, Evangelist. I know you've got a problem with that. You don't like having science shoved down your throat.
Man, you lecturing people about interrupting is so rich in irony. It is hilarious. Oh, please don't interrupt me. Jeez, he says,
I know
you wanker.
I know you've got a problem with science.
You don't know shit about me, buddy. You're just an asshole.
That you don't, that you're a science denier. It's quite obvious.
You know nothing. Hey, Rumpus, what would be the ideal bricks for Ranty to use in his fish tank experiment? What bricks would you use in order to get the settling out and the correct divergence that you're looking for?
Bricks? I don't understand what you mean by bricks.
Oh, you don't know what bricks is? Oh, how clever are you? It's the amount of dissolved sugar in a fluid, you moron. You utter moron. Do you know anything about sugar dissolving in water? Rumpus, I work with it, my friend. I work with it commercially. So let's have a discussion about dissolved sugar, shall we?
Okay, let's do that. How would you measure the amount of dissolved sugar?
With a refractometer. That's how I do it. For $30, you can buy one on eBay, you utter moron.
Exactly. That's the point I was about to point out, you utter moron. And that's what Ranty should do, instead of doing a stupid test with eggs in which he's got both eggs sinking, and therefore
I had no idea what you were talking about. Right.
He's got his way of testing whether or not they're the same.
It's on screen right now, Rumpus. You can see it on screen right now. Not in Discord, but I'm playing it for the entire audience. The level laser through the gradients when Gem Panda asked me to go and do it after day 2. This is day 2 when the tin is almost all sunk behind the pot. This is day 2, Rumpus, and the tank is still filled with the sugar solution, and it's absolutely flat as a funky pancake. There's no curve on this fucking laser. There's no curve on this. Well, we've got somebody in the. Look at that.
Yes, okay. So you've overfilled. This is the point.
Don't stutter and stammer, you moron.
Yeah, you say. You see.
He does this every time he gets cornered. He starts stuttering.
Don't tackle the argument.
Doesn't even know what bricks is. He's telling Ranty he's got too much sugar. Then he can't say how much sugar it should be. Doesn't even know what bricks is. Absolutely, you're a joke, Rumpus.
Okay then, what do you think would happen?
Let's hear F. Evangelist.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. Okay, let's indulge in your understanding of this. If I were, how long would you say it would take for the sugar to settle, or would you be expecting it to be uniform? Tell us about your knowledge about sugar.
You just want me to just pontificate what I think, do you?
Answer the question. Do you think that sugar...
No, hang on. You do want me to just pontificate and expect the world to believe what I don't know is the answer. I don't know.
There you are, exactly. So you know nothing about this subject, quite. So
nor do you. I know about bricks. I know about sugar dissolving.
I understand the physics. You clearly don't deal with anything to do with the optical side of this. You just pour sugar into vats or whatever. Completely useless.
Oh, do I?
So you don't understand.
That's right, because you know all about me.
Well, you've just demonstrated you know nothing that's relevant to this optical issue. So the point.
No, hang on. Hang on. You asked me how long would it take to settle. So please explain how that's not non sequitur to the optics of it. They're totally irrelevant.
Well, it would. Oh my God, you're just a moron. If there's going to form a density gradient, if you just poured all the sugar in one go, it'll be initially uniform, and then after a period of time, say, oh my God, can I finish my sentence? And then you can get a go. I'll tell you what, I'll finish in 5 seconds, and then you can get a go. I'll finish in 5 seconds, and then you can respond.
Yeah, you want.
If you, shut up, Paige. Paige, be quiet. You stupid.
I'm nearly finished.
Be quiet. You love it. I know you feel obliged to interrupt. Just wait your turn, and then you can speak. So, F. Evangelist, if you were to just pour the sugar in, and then it would by stirring it up, then it would be initially in a uniform case, but it would settle to create a density gradient. Hence, we have all these videos on YouTube of people leaving it for 24 hours before the gradient. Go ahead.
Take the sugar to settle. Please explain that.
You didn't listen to a word. I couldn't hear you. You were breaking up, and then you interrupted me all the time, so I have no idea what you said. Paige, go ahead. Now's your opportunity to speak for once.
Right, hang on. I want to hear F. Evangelist, and I want to hear the Rumpus. I just want to hear these two.
Go ahead, F. Evangelist. Oh my God! Every time people get an opportunity to speak, they don't, and they feel obliged to interrupt instead. Unbelievable. So, Ranty, what? Right. So you haven't done the test as I suggested. You haven't put the laser.
We'd like to hear you.
Hold on, Rumpus. Hold on. That wasn't the test that I was talking about, the Rumpus. That was what I did for Gem Panda when he asked me to go down and.
Why bring up what Gem Panda did? We're supposed to bring up what I asked you.
Hold on, the Rumpus. Hold on, just shut up. Hold on, the Rumpus.
Have to interrupt.
Yes, he does. So Gem Panda asked me to go down and shine the laser from one side of the tank to the other. So I leveled it out and I placed it from one side to the other. And that was the video that you just watched. There was no curve in that tank whatsoever. Now that was the exact height of the center of the lens of the P1000 that I was filming through, both at the end of the all through day 2, and on day 3. So there was and there was sinking in the image of the tin, and yet the laser was shining perfectly level through the tank.
Right, but there's an additional problem. Because you've chosen, for some God knows reason, to put the objects you're looking at outside the tank, which is completely antithetical to the situation in the atmosphere, where you've actually got it in the medium, there's going to be some extra confusion there, because by increasing the concentration there, you will increase the refractive index, even if it is uniform. So there will actually be a change in the bending of light through that bit as a result of doing that. Now, I don't quite know what the effects would be, but you certainly still wouldn't be accounting for the non-linearity, because you've shown in your pictures where the measure... Oh, shut up, you stupid cow! For God's sake, for once, wait until it's your turn. Stop! Shut up, you stupid... Wait for your turn to speak instead of interrupting obligate... My God, you're impossible. So, Ranty, the fact you've got a non-linear stretching, for instance, your little tape measure and your stretching of the words in the paint pot, means that you've got a non-linearity.
It wasn't
in the
stretching
tank.
of the words of the plant of the pot, Rumpus. Do you want me to put the image up again?
Yeah.
There's no stretching. There's no stretching of the. There's no stretching of the words on the tin.
There is. The tin
There
is
is no stretching. There's no stretching of the words on the tin, Rumpus. Primer is not stretched in any of the images.
The area just above it is stretched, but the tape measure's stretched.
Doesn't matter. Primer drops.
The tape measure.
Primer drops.
Okay, it's clearer. Clearly the stretching increases
The
with
tin
height.
drops.
Well, it's non-linear though, Ranty. You're getting a different effect at different heights, which means you do not have a uniform concentration. And what's more, you also don't have a uniform concentration gradient. You have neither.
Yeah.
Ranty, I thought this is why we asked them everything that they wanted you to do beforehand. You said to them, please come in, let me know, how you would like to see this done, because we don't want you coming back afterwards saying, oh, but you didn't do this and you didn't do that. So
I was never asked. I was never asked. I wasn't aware this was happening.
So Rumpus, I'm doing repeating this. I'm repeating this tomorrow. You'll be glad to know. So
right.
So thanks.
Can I give you some hints
hold on.
then?
So thanks for coming in and sharing your vast knowledge in this arena.
Would you like me to give you some hints and tips?
Thanks for showing us your lack of knowledge.
Yes, thanks for showing us that you do not know what just a density gradient would have on the ambient light in the background. You do not.
Well, off you go, Rumpus, and be happy with what you know.
Right, so I give you hints and tips, Ranty. So number one, what you want to do is to put the objects you're dealing with in the tank, number one. You've got a really fantastically long tank that's ideal for this. So my tank isn't as long as yours, so you've got a head start on that one. Oh my God, why do these people feel obliged to interrupt? Right, so then you need to put the water in there, then take another picture, then do the laser test as I suggested. And you still haven't shown me a video of you moving the laser from the bottom to the top of the tank, holding it horizontally to see if there's any bending. So then you do that to begin with, to establish that works without the water, then with the water in it. Then you put a little bit of sugar in, and then you let it settle for 24 hours, and then you repeat the test that I just described.
Piss off! I'm not creating a gradient in there. I don't want to use. You're telling me now to put sugar in that damn tank and let it settle to the bottom to create a gradient, and I know that that's what you've just done because you've just said it. And do you know how I know that you're trying to create a gradient that way? Because that's how they fucking create a gradient that way. And I don't want to create a gradient. I want a density throughout the whole thing. No, Rumpus has just told me to put the sugar in the solution, let it settle on the bottom, because that will create a density. That will create a gradient throughout the tank, right? The way I've done it, which is boiling the sugar, and then making sure that it's all been mixed up with the water, and then applying it to the water, creates the actual uniformity that I'm looking for. You have just tried to get me to sprinkle the sugar in to create a gradient so that you could see refraction in it, and I don't want that. I'm not looking for that, Rumpus.
Okay, all right. Let's say you're not trying to do that. Number one, if what you're trying to do then is to generate a uniform density gradient, you need to establish that. And as FE Evangelist apparently knew that you can in fact get on eBay, and I knew as well, to get something to measure the density, and so you can take little samples, even drops, and then measure the density of those things. So you can then establish. Oh my God. So then you can.
You don't need a refractometer now.
Stop
you don't need one, Rumpus, you moron.
Shut up. You can make your
if you're going to have uniform, density.
Make your point in a second, and you can get your turn. I'll stop in a second, and then you can get.
Okay. Please go ahead, Barry.
Thank you. Right. So then you could then use this little thing. It's only £18 on eBay, and then you could actually take little droplets at different heights, and then establish whether or not your gradient was uniform, rather than using your completely erroneous egg test, which doesn't work. So then you could, so you're trying to get uniform. That would
I used the laser, Rumpus. You're going to turn around and you're going to tell me, hold on, you're going to tell me, you're going to keep using this egg test. He's going to keep using, he's going to keep using this, saying that I've only used the egg test, which is bullshit because I used the laser too. And when I told him that, he said, "Oh, you did it right then." And then this is the second. Wait a minute. And this is the second time.
Can I talk now, Rumpus?
Just 1 second. No, 1 sec.
I'm not being able to.
1 sec. And then yes, you can. Just a second, guys. Just a second. Just a second, guys. Just a second. Because then this is the second time that he's turned around and tried to throw that in my face, saying you shouldn't use the stupid egg test. right? Because I used the laser test, right? He's ignoring that, and he's cherry picking. He's cherry picking. I just showed the fucking laser rumpers through the tank. I showed the laser through the tank rumpers. If it was bending, and so what are you telling me, that it went straight through the tank? Did it go? Was it straight, rumpers? Was it straight? Yes, I did, because I played it after that as well. You dickhead.
Right, this is it. You see, that's why I worded it very carefully to say you need to put and move it up. But you said you'd done it, but now it turns out you haven't.
You're just trying to cherry. What you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is cherry pick. Right, have a mute. Fuck off. Right, he's just trying to cherry pick, guys, and you know that. He's just trying to come in here and cherry pick and trying to get a sound bite off of me, because I used two forms. I used a physical form of actually grabbing the actual solution from the top and the bottom and measuring it against the buoyancy of an egg, and then the second time I used it with a laser, which was able to show through that there was no actual curvature inside the actual tank. Right, and the second time he's happy with that, but then twice he turned around and he tried to cherry pick that I'd only used a fucking egg, so he's a lying bastard.
Well,
Ranty, let me ask you a question.
Wrong. Like, even though you're showing him the actual test, in his head, he's thinking to himself, well, he must have done something wrong because my religion says this. So
Ranty, let me ask you a question.
What the actual truth is, he's only here to put you down.
Okay.
Ranty,
yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, go ahead, FE Evangelist. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pull over. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to conduct this test through a uniform density or a gradiated density? What do you want to do?
Gradient.
Okay, so all you need to do.
Sorry, uniform density.
You want the tank to be uniform.
Yes.
So why are we, Rumpets? I'll bring you in on this. Please be polite. Why do we need a refractometer to test gradients if we're trying to test in a uniform density? Just swirl the fish tank around, and you will get uniform density.
That's what I did. That's
all you have to do.
That's what I did. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Because
you've got no need to buy a refractometer unless you want to prove that there is gradation. All you need to do is stir it, and I promise you there will be no gradation.
Well, here's the thing. That entire tank was absolutely uniform through all of the tests, because I applied the same logic each time. I boiled the water and I poured the boiling water over the sugar and I melted the sugar into the solution. So it was already it was already just in a solution to put into the tank to actually move around it. And then I swirled it all around it. It was all uniform. Happy days. And I repeated that same thing every single time. There was no, you've seen by the lasers, you've seen how straight they are going through that tank. There was no gradients inside of that tank. It was all uniform. And he wants to believe that there had to have been a gradient in there to get that image to sync, because he can't process it that just through density alone, that image was allowed to drop. Right? He can't process that because he's seeing that the laser's going straight.
Exactly.
He sees the laser going straight, and he can't process that the laser is behaving differently to the actual tin in the background. He can't process that because that's two different things that are happening.
Physics has told him something else.
Yeah. So he would rather believe that there's still a gradient in that tank, right? But it's like you say, the proof's in the pudding. There was that laser didn't bend, but it came back straight, and also the tin in the background dropped. So none of those two things were acting the same. You know, the laser light didn't behave the same as the ambient light, and just through density alone, which was proved by the straight laser, just as it was a uniform density, it proved that just through density alone and not refraction, the image was lowered down in your vision.
Exactly.
That was it. And he can't process that.
Hold on.
He needs refraction.
No, he can't.
Exactly. See, it's a typical obfuscation, double speak. He's flipping between you need a gradient. Oh, now you've got too much sugar. He doesn't even understand the concept of dissolved sugar. Like, as long as you use 50% weight overall of sugar. So if you're going to have a kilo of water, add a kilo of sugar. That'll give you a Brix of about 50. That'll be quite a dense syrupy mixture. Anything above that just gets obviously more syrupy. You'll get plenty of. You don't. For him, put it this way: for him saying you've got too much is lunacy. It doesn't make any sense to his argument. That's my point. He's actually disproving his own argument by saying you've got too much sugar.
There was nowhere near enough sugar in for that for it to be saturated, because each of the times that I added the water, I added the same amount of water, which was about 750 mils per 1 kilogram of sugar, and that was comfortably able to absorb all the sugar, right? Comfortably.
Yeah, that's quite a low Brix, Franti. So yeah, you're nowhere near saturation at that point.
But even
I
then,
promise you,
inside the tank there was already about 35 litres inside the tank of water that had no sugar in at all. So everything that was added was added to that. So it was already diluted. So let's say the first time I went to the tank, I put 1.5 litres of water in, and I put 2 kilograms of sugar. So now we have 36.5 litres of water in the tank and 2 kilograms of sugar. That's nothing. And then at the end of it,
that's nothing. No, that's enormously low.
Yeah, I ended up with about roughly, I can't remember exactly, but it's early 40s of litres or something, and about 15 kilograms or 14.5 kilograms of sugar. It wasn't a saturation, far from it.
Yeah,
far from it.
That's not an awful lot higher than a can of soft drink.
There you go. It'd be interesting to work that out, actually.
Yeah, if I wasn't driving, I could work it out fairly quickly, but maybe that's for tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, so maybe I'll have a chat with you tomorrow when I redo the test and give you the calculations. Perhaps you can figure it out for us.
Yeah, so just roughly, you had about 15 kilos of sugar added to 40 kilos of water.
Well, how about tomorrow I make sure that there's 40... Well, how about tomorrow I make sure that there's 40 litres of water in the tank, and then I'm going to add, let's say... and then I'm going to add 15 additional litres. So in total it's going to be 55 litres of water in the tank and 20 kilograms of sugar. So if I can make that...
So that'll give you a Brix that's a little bit more than double what orange juice is or soft drink, something like that.
Right, okay. And all we're trying to do here is replicate what would happen over hundreds of miles or 50 miles or 60 miles in a 3-foot tank. So the saturation that we're using over 3 feet, when you compare that and you stretch it out over 50 miles, 3 feet over 50 miles, it's not a lot,
Exactly.
So
and the other thing is, like, as far as gradient goes, Franti, when you look across the ocean to the horizon, you're not looking through gradient. As Paige was saying, gradient's vertical. At the ocean, your refraction is going to be line of sight. You're looking through essentially the same density roughly.
Yeah, and if it's just density that's the cause of sinking, if it's just density that causes sinking, wow. Well, we've got our answer there. If they've just misrepresented, radius for density,
Density. Yep. But the thing is, you've got to understand is that you don't understand and you're wrong.
You don't understand.
Yeah, you don't understand. 100 years of physics, you don't understand. You're a moron.
Yeah, but he didn't have an experiment there to say yes, we've already tested just for just for density to see whether that affects the propagation of light. He didn't have that.
No, that was just a nice bit of muddying the waters he came in to do. Just throw a bunch of, random shit at you, see what sticks.
Red herrings.
Random complaints. Yep. And just stir up the pot a little bit, sow confusion, obfuscate, whatever. And then he was trying to get you to do it the exact same way so you would get the results that he expected, because it's not matching up to what he expected.
Yeah, he asked me to sprinkle the sugar in. Sprinkle the sugar in, leave it for 24 hours, come back the next day, put some more sugar in. He wanted me to create a gradient. And I pulled him on that. I pulled him on that.
Wants to waste our time.
Yeah, but I pulled him on that immediately because I knew that's what that's what would have happened. If I'd have done it that way, I already spoke to Dr. John D before, and he told me that if you want to get a gradient, that's how you do it. So he was telling me how to do it with a gradient, and I didn't want a gradient.
Yeah.
No, you handled them really well. And trying to get him to understand something new is like trying to play a Blu-ray disc on an old record player. It's just not going to happen.
He was, yes. Mike Dornan says, spot on, Brandon. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there, mate.
Yeah, it was pretty transparent what he's doing.
Well, I'm gonna get some sleep, guys. I'm gonna round up early tonight and prepare for tomorrow. So, if there's anything you want to add right now, I'll start at the top of the list and work my way down, and we'll do final thoughts and get some thoughts for tomorrow as well. So, F.E. Evangelist, you're first in line. Final thoughts, please.
Thanks for having me, and sleep well, my friend.
Thank you very much. No, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Jeremy?
Yeah, have a good night, and no matter what you do with this, it's never going to be good enough. You need a $30 piece to check for the density or the gradient or whatever. I don't know. That's all.
Yossi?
Well, I'm happy Rumpus is losing it, so well done. Good night.
Paige, final thoughts, please.
Yeah, brilliant, Ranty. I think you've done everything right. Just do the next test, and we will eventually get to the point where they will have no arguments at all left, because we all know what the truth is at the end of the day. We're not living on a spinning ball, so we have the upper hand. They're on the back foot. They have been for a long time. So, well done. Sleep well.
Cheers. Rob Keane, final answer. Final thoughts.
You don't understand.
Yeah, you don't understand. That should be written on his tombstone, I think. Or wanker should be written on it. You wanker. Brandon.
It was an entertaining end to a great show. Thanks.
No worries, Rob. Right, Brandon, final thoughts, please.
Yeah, great show. Another candidate for Rumpus's tombstone would be Let Me Finish. That'd be a good one. But I think this work you're doing, Ranty, is fantastic, and I really appreciate you taking the lead on stuff like this and getting out there and doing it, man. It's awesome.
No worries. Well, somebody's got to try something different to try and break the deadlock. The Globers have been asking for long enough. Where's your flat Earth model? Where's your counter for this? Explain this on a flat plane. And they've been asking for long enough, and well, let's try and get some answers there. So, Hansel's final thoughts there, please.
Hey, Randy. It's Aaron.
Yes,
I need to change that name. It's pretty bad. Oh, hang on, I got a phone call. Hang on.
Well, and with that, I don't think I can wait for him to finish his phone call. Can I? Would it be cruel?
No, man. Let's just end on a good note.
It's a phone call.
Yay! He's fucked his phone call off. Right, here we come. Aaron, final thoughts then.
Oh, look, I told you Rumpus was a prick, right?
Yep.
Sorry, Paige. Sorry that another man could talk to a lady like that. It's disgusting. I know you can handle it, but on behalf of Ballers, I'd like to apologise for Rumpus. He's disgusting. Ranty, are you going to use the laser again, or are you just looking at sinking the tin?
No, I'm going to use the laser again. So I'm not going to let it go to waste. Wait a minute. I actually have 2 green lasers, so I could film 2 green lasers at the same time, not just one. In fact, I've got a red one as well, so I could use 2 green ones and a red one. Don't know if the red one will show up very well, but I suppose I could stagnate them through the tank.
So can you do me just do me one favour, because I think what you're doing makes perfect sense to me. Like, I understand what you're saying is actually doing it, but I still can't understand how the laser can reflect back in a straight line with all of those different things on the end of the garage. So can you do me one favour? Maybe just get like a wooden spoon or something, stick it in the tank right at the end of where the last panel is, put it in front of the laser, and see what happens to the laser. Because according to you, it should just shoot back in the same trajectory that it was, but I think it won't. I think there's some reflection off I think there's a part of the back panel or the end of the tank is reflecting the laser back, and some of it's going through because it's such a powerful laser. So yeah, just grab a wooden spoon or piece of plastic or something and just put it in and block the laser and see if it reflects back into the tank the same way that it did. I heard Paige talk about me having some fish tanks, and yes, I do have many fish tanks. I've got an 8-foot fish tank, but I don't have any kind of camera work or anything like that, or any lasers. So I don't have a camera or anything. So
Rumpus,
I could set it up.
Rumpus wants
but,
everything. Sorry.
I could set it up, but I don't have anything to film it with. So I've just got a phone, and it wouldn't work out. So, so sorry about that.
No worries.
I was just going to say, Rumpus wants everything in the fish tank, the objects, even the camera.
Well, that's another.
Hey,
well,
get
that's another
yourself
option as well.
a P1000 and you might become a flat earther.
I don't have a spare grand. P1000s are expensive. Maybe I could do a GoFundMe. Wonder how many flat earthers would support me for a GoFundMe.
I'll throw you a couple dollars.
I'll send you $1.
Thanks, man. No, seriously, Randy, just put something in the end of the tank against the end glass, and see if it reflects back. Because according to you, it should, but I don't think it will.
I'll try and do everything that everybody's asked me.
A wooden spoon.
But you'll have to also bear in mind that I am pretty forgetful, and I'm trying to do an awful lot of things. But I will try to remember. Promise. I'll write things down. I'll write it all down. And try and stick to a plan.
It won't change the results of your syncing or whatever you're calling that at all. It won't change it. It'll just rule out that the laser is coming back off the end of your shed in a direct.
All right. Okay. So you just want confirmation to see whether it's coming back from the shed or anything, or whether it's just coming back off the glass inside the actual fish tank, right? Okay.
I think it's such a powerful laser. I think some of it is coming back off the glass, because I can't understand if you moved the box and then it was hitting the corrugated tin or the shed door or whatever it was, and then a mirror. I can't understand how it wouldn't even budge a millimeter.
Well, in that case, he can also put something out behind the tank, let's say. Don't need to put something in the water, just put it
He's
behind.
already done that. He's already done that. He's already put it. So you need to take out the end pane of glass of the tank. You need to rule that out.
Yeah, let all the water go.
So he's already
nice
put a
try
mirror.
there,
he's already
mate.
put a.
Yeah, I saw what you did
Randy.
then. Yes.
I came up with a funny name, like sweet refraction. When you're talking about this.
Sweet refraction. Yeah, I'll use that tomorrow. Carlos, can I get your final thoughts there, Carlos?
A what?
Your final thoughts. I've pretty much rounded the show up, so you'll be the last one to do final thoughts.
I think I wanted to say real quick that what Rumpus was trying to say, if I'm not mistaken, is that if you had any distortion on the image, there was a difference on density layers. That's what he was trying to say. So, and I think that if you wanted to have very uniform density, why don't just look through the water itself? Why try to make it more dense? But anyway, yeah, I don't have more.
Okay, no worries. Well, just to answer your question, the reason I'm making it more dense is because each time I make the solution more dense, we keep getting a lowering of the image in the background. And that's the theory, that density alone is the cause of sinking or distant mountain ranges to be lower in your peripheral view than they should be, etc., etc. So, it's a line of research that we're working on. Who knows? It may pan out, it might not. We'll see. We'll see. We'll try it.
Cool.
Okay, right, guys. Yeah, that'll do for today. I guess I'll see you all tomorrow after I've done this tank test again. So, up early, get the tank out, get it all cleaned out, scrub it all down, go and buy the sugar, come back, boil it all, put it in, get all the cameras set up, then do it. Should take all day. It should take all day, but I should hopefully have a result for you tomorrow. So stay tuned. See what happens. Stay tuned. Right, okay, guys, that'll do. Thanks for all stopping by. Thanks for the people that supported me in the super chats. It's very, very appreciated at this time. If anybody wants to become a channel member, please do so in the link down below. And yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow, guys. Take care.